Robert Shaner, Ph.D., was thereupon called as a witness herein, and after having first been duly sworn, via Zoom video conference, to testify to the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, was examined and testified as follows. Gordon: Hi, John. You are in for Courtney today? Mr. Gilliam: Yeah, I am. Gordon: Where are you located? Gilliam: Bloomfield Hills. Gordon: And Mr. Chisholm, you are located where? Mr. Chisholm: I'm in Rochester. Gordon: Okay. Examination by Gordon: Gordon: And then, Mr. Shaner, good morning. I'm Deborah Gordon. Where are you located? Shaner: In my office in Rochester. Gordon: Is anybody in the room with you? Shaner: Mr. Chisholm. Gordon: Anybody else? Shaner: No. Gordon: I assume Mr. Chisholm prepped you for your dep this morning at some point? Shaner: Mr. Gilliam did, yeah. Gordon: When was that? Shaner: At about 8 o'clock. Gordon: 8 o'clock this morning? Shaner: Gordon: You have to say yes for the record. Shaner: Yes, sorry. Gordon: That's all right. Who else was on that call, or was that in person or on a call? Shaner: It was on a call with Mr. Gilliam, and Mr. Chisholm was in the room. Gordon: Okay. And have you talked to counsel to get ready for this dep prior to this morning? Shaner: Yes. Gordon: And when was that? Shaner: I think I had a meeting with Courtney and John last Friday. Gordon: And that would be John Gilliam? Shaner: John? Sorry, John. I apologize, John Gilliam and Courtney. Gordon: That's all right. What documents have you reviewed to get ready for your deposition today? Shaner: Documents? I haven't reviewed any documents. Gordon: You've reviewed nothing at all? Shaner: No. Gordon: Okay. Have you been asked to produce documents in this case? Shaner: Myself, no. Gordon: What do you mean when you say, myself, no? Has anybody else on your behalf been asked to produce documents? Shaner: I'm certain, as part of the process, people have asked my staff to produce documents. Gordon: When you say you're certain, what do you mean by that? Shaner: Well, I'm sure it's part of the process that people ask for documents. Gordon: So who is your staff that would be asked for documents? Shaner: That's a good question. I would imagine it would go through the office staff to our general counsel. Gordon: Who is your office staff? Shaner: Through Mr. Gilliam. Gordon: Who is your office staff that it would go through? Shaner: Probably through my HR director. Gordon: Who is that? Shaner: Beth Davis. Gordon: So are you guessing, or do you have any actual knowledge if any of this occurred? Shaner: I'm not guessing. I have no knowledge of it. Gordon: You are not guessing and you have no knowledge of it? Shaner: No, that's not what I said, I'm sorry. I said I'm not guessing. I have no knowledge of these specific documents or if specific documents were requested. Gordon: Okay, well, do you have personal knowledge that anybody at the district was contacted to produce documents that would have had your name on them in some manner? Shaner: At the district, I would say probably through Courtney that documents were requested. Gordon: Well, okay. We've sent out requests for documents that involve you, okay? Shaner: Gordon: Do you have any knowledge of whether anybody, apparently, you produced no documents and did not look for any documents, is that correct? Shaner: Yes. Gordon: Okay, so do you know whether anybody else in the district actually looked for the documents that were relevant to you and your actions involving this case? Gilliam: Object to form. You can go ahead. Shaner: Well, Gilliam, you can answer, Dr. Shaner. Shaner: Can you ask that again? I'm sorry, Ms. Gordon. Gordon: Can you read it back, Lori? Court reporter: The following record was read by the reporter at 10:12 a.m. Okay. So do you know whether anybody else in the district actually looked for the documents that were relevant to you and your actions involving this case? Shaner: My understanding of documents is that was coordinated by Courtney Nichols. Gordon: Okay, so did you sit in on any meetings where production of documents was discussed? Shaner: No. Gordon: Okay, so who from your district would have produced documents that would have been in possession of the district? Shaner: That would be, again, Beth Davis would coordinate that. Gordon. All right. Do you know whether she did or not? Shaner. Yeah, I'm sure she did. Gordon. Well, are you guessing or do you have knowledge? Shaner. I don't have any first, so let me be clear about that. I have no first-hand knowledge of what documents were produced or not produced. Gordon. Okay, but I didn't ask you that. Just try and listen to the question. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. I didn't ask you if you know what documents were produced. I asked you if you have personal knowledge that Beth produced documents. Shaner. Yes, Gordon. Okay, and how do you have personal knowledge in that regard? Shaner. From Mrs. Nichols, from Ms. Nichols, Courtney. Gordon. And does Beth have access to your server that you personally use? Shaner. I would assume so. Gordon. You don't know? Shaner. I would assume so. It's, my email's public. Gordon. Okay, and do you use an email address other than the one at the district to communicate with the board or anybody else within the district at any time? Shaner. No, Gordon. What are your other email addresses? Shaner. My wife's email address as redacted Gordon. Do you use that email address to communicate? Shaner. For business, not as a normal course of practice. Gordon. But you have used it? Shaner. I don't remember. Gordon. Do you use any other email addresses? Shaner. No, I don't. Gordon. Do you email with Kristen Bull? Shaner. I email with my entire board. Gordon. Okay, and I assume you do that on a regular basis? Shaner. Sometimes. I do a lot more communication by phone than I do email. Gordon. And you text, as well, is that correct, with board members and personnel and the like within the district? Shaner. Yeah, from time to time. Gordon. And what is the cell phone number you use for that? Shaner. Redacted Gordon. Do you ever text with Debbie Fragomeni? Shaner. Yeah, I work with Debbie very closely. Gordon. I know that. She reports to you, correct? Shaner. Correct, Gordon. So do you communicate with her by text? Shaner. Sometimes. Gordon. And email, I assume? Shaner. Probably very rarely by email. Gordon. Okay, and how about board members, do you text with them periodically? Shaner. From time to time. Like last night with the snow day. Gordon. How about with regard to other matters other than a snow day? Shaner. From time to time. Gordon. How about, for example, about what's going to come up at meetings and so on? Shaner. Sometimes. Again, I try to talk to people on the phone as much as I can. Gordon. And what phone do you use for that? Shaner. It's the same one I just gave you. Gordon. Your cell? Shaner. Yes, ma'am. Gordon. Have you been involved in litigation prior to being sued in this case? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. What other litigation have you been involved in? Shaner. I was sued when I was a police officer. Gordon. What year was that, approximately? Shaner. 98, 99 maybe. Gordon. And what was that for? Shaner. That was a federal civil rights suit. I was a party to it. Gordon. What police department were you with at that time? Shaner. City of Troy. Gordon. Did you give a deposition? Shaner. I did. Gordon. Was that filed in Detroit? Shaner. I don't remember. I would assume so. Gordon. Any other times you've been a party to a lawsuit? Shaner. Not that I'm aware of. Gordon. Have you been a witness in a case other than the time you were a police officer? Shaner. Not that I can remember. Gordon. You became a superintendent of the Rochester Community Schools when? Shaner. 2013. Gordon. What was the date? Shaner. Actually, it was the beginning of February. Gordon. And you were hired in directly as superintendent? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. What is your home address? Shaner. Redacted Gordon. What city is that? Shaner. Redacted, you may have a different address. We moved after my son's death. Gordon. So prior to being at Rochester, was your prior job with Warren Consolidated Schools? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And what was your title there? Shaner. I had several titles there. When I left there, I was the executive director for technology and secondary education. Gordon. So what did that involve? What were your responsibilities there? Shaner. I oversaw the tech department and technology training for instructional technology, and Gordon. You came, go ahead. Shaner. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Gordon. You came up with the instructional curriculum and materials? Shaner. Yeah, so we did a bond issue and went to interactive whiteboards and got rid of all of our chalkboards and went to interactive technology. I oversaw the training for that, led the team that implemented that. Gordon. Were you involved in teaching? Shaner. I was a teacher at Sterling Heights High School when I left the police department. Gordon. I meant when you were at Warren Consolidated. Shaner. Yeah, I was a teacher at Sterling Heights High School. It's in Warren Consolidated. It's my alma mater. Gordon. I see. So, but when you were Executive Director of Instruction and Technology, you were not teaching? Shaner. No, I was a central office administrator. Gordon. Were you interacting with parents in any capacity, any official capacity? Shaner. Yeah, yes. Gordon. Hang on. What was the official capacity in which you worked interacting with parents? Shaner. The parents would call to complain. Generally speaking, I supervised the secondary administrators, as well, so, Gordon. I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean. What you said is you were Executive Director of Instruction and Technology, so Shaner. Again, let me clear that up. Maybe you didn't hear me. I apologize. I was the Executive Director of Instructional Technology and Secondary Education. Gordon. So you are saying, instructional technology. Shaner. Gordon. Okay, so what does that mean? Shaner. Again, I oversaw the tech department and implemented a multi-million-dollar bond project for exactly that, instructional technology in classrooms. Gordon. So you were in charge of putting instructional technology in classrooms, essentially? Shaner. I was in charge of the people that did it. It's kind of I would not say I'm a tech person. Gordon. Okay, so you didn't have any responsibility yourself for instruction of students, rather, you were setting up the infrastructure? Shaner. Yeah, so let me be clear. I was in charge of the technology department and in charge of the secondary administrators. Gordon. Okay, did you attend board meetings in that particular role? Shaner. Sometimes. Gordon. But not on a regular basis? Shaner. No, not really. Gordon. Okay, and did you have any educational staff reporting to you in your role as Executive Director of Instructional Technology? Shaner. Yeah, a team of curriculum consultants that I worked with. Gordon. In your area of technology? Shaner. Well, the way we did it is we cross-trained, so we could have our instructional people know the technology so they could teach the technology in their discipline to their colleagues. Gordon. And prior to that you were a principal at Sterling Heights High School? Shaner. I was. Gordon. And that goes back to '05, between '05 and '11, is that true? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. How much were you earning, roughly, as Executive Director of Instruction and Technology or Instructional Technology? Before you became Superintendent, what were you earning, roughly? Shaner. About $130,000 a year. Gordon. How was it you applied for or sought out the superintendent position in Rochester Community Schools? How did that come to pass? Shaner. I aspired to a position of leadership and had some great mentors that suggested that I apply for it, so I applied through a search firm. Gordon. And was the selection made by the board? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Were any of the board members that currently are on the board today a part of the board that selected you? Shaner. I'm sorry, can you say that again? My phone went off in my ears. My hearing aids were in my phone. I apologize. I can't turn it off, though. I'm sorry. Gordon. No problem. Were any of the board members in 2013 that selected you, are any of them still on the board today? Shaner. Just one. Gordon. Who is that? Shaner. Mike Zabit. Gordon. And when you were hired in at Rochester, what were you hired in at salary-wise or package-wise? Shaner. 182. Gordon. So this was a significant promotion, obviously, both 12 in money and with regard to responsibility, correct? Gilliam. Objection to form. Shaner. Yes. 15. Gordon. And how many, and what are you earning today? Shaner. Salary-wise, about 290. Gordon. And what comes in addition to that? Shaner. Of course, healthcare, retirement benefits, car allowance, that sort of thing. Gordon. And you report to the board, I assume? Shaner. I do work for the board. Gordon. And how many students are there in the district as of today's date? Shaner. Well, today, an audited number, I don't have off the top of my head, but we're around 14,900, I would say, give or take. It fluctuates daily. Gordon. And your educational background is, well, where did you get your BA? Shaner. The University of Detroit. Gordon. Okay, and what was that in? Shaner. Political science, history and secondary education. Gordon. Okay, and then what additional degrees do you have? Shaner. I have a master's degree from Central Michigan University in instruction. I have a specialist's degree from Wayne State University in administration, and I have a PhD from Oakland University in educational leadership. Gordon. When did you get the PhD? Shaner. 2009. Gordon. Who reports directly to you at the district? Shaner. Cabinet. Gordon. At this time? Go ahead. Shaner. My cabinet. Debbie Fragomeni, Dana Taylor, Matthew Daniel. Gordon. Hang on. I'm sorry. Debbie Fragomeni. Who was the next one? Shaner. Dana Taylor. Gordon. Okay, what's her title? Shaner. She's the, essentially my CFO. Gordon. Okay, Shaner. Chief Financial Officer. Gordon. Sure, who else? Shaner. Matt McDaniel. Gordon. What's his title? Shaner. Operations, business guy as well. Gordon. Okay, Shaner. My executive director for special populations, Conchetta Lewis. Gordon. Special populations, is that what you said? Shaner. Gordon. Did you say Conchetta Lewis? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Okay, who else? Shaner. Cindy Lindner. Gordon. What is Cindy Lindner's title? Shaner. She's our technology person. Gordon. Who else? Shaner. Lori Grain. Gordon. What's her job? Shaner. She is Executive Director of Strategic Communications. Gordon. Okay, who else? Shaner. Neil DeLuca. Gordon. What's his title? Shaner. He's the Executive Director for Secondary Education. Gordon. Okay, who else? Shaner. And Corey Heitch, he's the Executive Director for Elementary Education. Gordon. Anybody else? Shaner. My executive assistant. Gordon. Who is that? Shaner. Christina Whitmore. Gordon. Of this team, who did you hire in? Shaner. Can you just give me a second, please? My daughter is calling me, and you can imagine my family situation. Gordon. Sure, Shaner. Sorry, I'm all set. Thank you. Go ahead. I apologize. I get pretty jumpy about that these days. Gordon. No problem. Of these people whose names you just gave me, did you hire them all in, or were some of them already with the district when you came on board in 2013? Shaner. Elizabeth Davis and Debbie Fragomeni were already here in a different capacity. Well, Beth was still HR director, but Debbie worked for the district for a very long time. Gordon. Before you got there? Shaner. Oh, yeah. Gordon. Okay, what are her job duties? She's assistant superintendent, obviously? Shaner. She's a deputy superintendent. Gordon. Okay, what are her duties day to day? Shaner. Generally oversees overall operations. Gordon. Can you be any more specific? Shaner. Well, Gordon. Let's do it this way. Who reports directly to her? Shaner. Essentially, my cabinet goes through Debbie in the deputy model. Gordon. Does she have a job description? Shaner. I'm sure there's one somewhere in our. Gordon. And Ms. Grain, does she have a job description? Shaner. I assume so. Gordon. What is Ms. Grain's job? Shaner. She is in charge of all communications for the school district. Gordon. Can you explain to me what that means? Shaner. It's a myriad of things. She takes care of publications, things like our weekly community update that we put out. She keeps me informed of what's going on, helps keep me informed of what is going on in the community. She helps out with our foundation. She helps sometimes with video productions. It's a myriad of things. Gordon. Well, what else is there? Have we covered it all or is there more? Shaner. Well, you know, in the last 2 years, so many people have done so many things that are outside of their job description, we like to joke about it as all other duties as assigned. So I don't think I can specifically say what everybody does on a daily basis, because it's been an all-hands-on-deck endeavor. Gordon. What are her, aside from the all-hands-on-deck time period, what are her duties, her assigned duties? You've given, Shaner. Again, she, Gordon, me 3 things. You've given me 3 things: publications, what's going on in the community, and video productions. Is there anything else? Shaner. Yeah, she helps write communications with me, she helps write communications sometimes to the board. If we have a crisis like the Oxford shooting, she is an integral part of making sure we communicate to our community. So it's still a big job. Gordon. Do you evaluate the performance of the individuals who are in your cabinet that you've just named? Shaner. I evaluate Debbie Fragomeni. Gordon. Anybody else? Shaner. Beth Davis. Gordon. Okay. Who evaluates Lori Grain? Shaner. Debbie Fragomeni. Gordon. Are these annual reviews that you give? Shaner. We try to. Gordon. But not always? Shaner. The last 2 years, it's been very difficult. Gordon. So let's get the time frame, since you mentioned it, for the last 2 years. When did the school district stop having in-person classes in 2020 for the first time? Shaner. March, the beginning of March. Gordon. Was it after the governor's executive order came out on or around March, I think? Shaner. No. No. It was before that. Gordon. Okay, so roughly how much before that? Shaner. Probably 18 hours, 24 hours. Gordon. Okay, and what was the setup of how was school being conducted, district-wide, as of that date, whatever it is? Shaner. I would say as normal a fashion as school is conducted. Gordon. Well, people weren't in the building, according to you? Shaner. People were not in the building? Gordon. I'm asking you that. Shaner. You are asking me if they're, Gordon. Okay. What my question was in Rochester community schools, when did students stop coming into the building for class due to COVID? Shaner. It was the beginning of March in 2020. Gordon. All right. So what was the format for educating students after it was decided that they would not be in person? Shaner. Well, we went to remote learning. Gordon. Okay. And how long did remote learning last with regard to this particular time frame that began in March 2020? Shaner. It went through the end of the 19 to 20 school year. Gordon. And when would that be? June? Shaner. May, June. May for the seniors, June for the rest of the kids. Gordon. Okay. And then what happened in the fall of 2020? Shaner. Fall of 2020, we intended to start in person, and as conditions changed we ran remote. Gordon. Okay, so beginning fall of 2020 you remained remote? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. That's a yes? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Okay, and how long did you remain remote for beginning in the fall of 2020? Shaner. Oh, we went through Christmas. Gordon. Through the Christmas break? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Okay, and when did students return to the building? Shaner. In hybrid, the following spring. Gordon. Okay, so you said through Christmas. That, to me, brings us up to January 1st. What happened on January 3rd? Were the students remote? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. Or in person? Court reporter. Dr. Shaner, could I ask you, please, it's common for people to talk on top of each other, but my job is to write down everything. Shaner. Yeah, I'm sorry. Court reporter. You're fine. Shaner. I have to wear hearing aids and in this environment, it's, court reporter. You're absolutely fine, but I'll stop you from time to time just so I can get the ends of the questions. Shaner. Yeah. Shaner. So, Ms. Gordon, I don't know if you are aware of it, but I discovered my son with a gunshot wound to his head on January 2, 2021. Gordon. I did know your son had passed away, and I'm sorry. Shaner. So, first of all, I've been through enormous trauma, and I think people think that I'm just doing great, but I'm struggling every day. And for you to ask me what happened on January 3rd, on January 3rd I was at the morgue identifying my son's body. Gordon. Okay, and I appreciate that. However, you remained the superintendent and I'm just here today to try to find out a time frame, and I'm sure that you must know today, more or less, when the school was remote and when it was not. So if you don't remember, you can tell me. But since you're the superintendent, you know, Shaner. Yeah, I tried very hard to continue to do my job, because I'm a duty-bound kind of person. It was very difficult, but we pushed hard to get kids back to school, and we did it that spring. Gordon. Okay. So, Shaner, the date, I can't remember. I'm sorry. The specific date we sent the kids back to school, I don't remember. Gordon. Well, there must be, Shaner. Specifics around 2021, in that time frame, are very difficult for me. Gordon. Okay, so there must be communication sent out to the community with all these dates, is that correct? Shaner. Yeah, we worked really hard to get kids back to school. Gordon. Okay, so let's go to the last thing you said about the time frame. You said spring is when the kids, the students, returned. Shaner. Yeah, I would say it was. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Gordon. So when would that be, roughly? Shaner. Give me a second. Gordon. That's okay. Take your time. Gilliam. We can take a quick break. Shaner. That's all right. I don't need a break. Shaner. March. It was around March, just before spring break. Gordon. That would be March 2021? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Okay, so, obviously, there was a time period when you were not, when Ms. Fragameni stepped in because you were not able to be superintendent for a particular period of time. When was that, roughly? Shaner. Yeah, so, again, her name is Fragameni. I'm sorry. Gordon. Thank you. That's all right. Shaner. Debbie kept me informed, but pretty much was helping me around the place and working with the board for, I believe, most of January, and then we started to transition back. Gordon. Okay, and as of June of 2021, May, June, were the students back in classroom and have they remained in classroom? Shaner. Yes. We were the largest school district with the most amount of instructional hours in Oakland County when we went back in person, and we pushed really hard to make sure kids were in school the full day and had as close to a normal experience in this environment that we're in. Gordon. So just to sum up, students were remote from March of 2020 and through spring of 2021? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Okay. You were appointed to Governor Whitmer's Students to COVID-19 Return to School Advisory Council, is that correct? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And was that in June of 2020? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Do you know how that came to be that you were included on that board? Shaner. My name was put forth to the governor as my understanding. I don't know exactly who did it. Gordon. Had you had a relationship with the governor or the governor's office previously? Shaner. No. Gordon. Okay. Shaner. Not outside of my official duties, no. Gordon. Okay. And what did being on this advisory committee cause you to participate in? Were there meetings, were there calls, what was your role? Shaner. Yeah, I was part of the team that was led by an organization called Opportunity Lab that was trying to figure out how to get kids back in-person instruction, in the safest way possible. Gordon. So were you attending meetings? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And how often were the meetings? Shaner. In the beginning they were probably once a week. Gordon. And were those via phone or Zoom, or how did that work? Shaner. Oh, they were all on Zoom. Gordon. Okay, and then are you still on this council today? Shaner. Well, I believe they brought that council to a close and then they had another Return to Learn council that I was appointed to again. I was asked to stay on it. Gordon. Okay. Shaner. And I assume that appointment is still intact, but we haven't met in months and months. Gordon. Okay, so June 3, 2020 seems to be the time that the council was established. You remained actively participating in the council until roughly when? Shaner. I'm sorry, can you say that again? I get confused by the dates. Gordon. Sure. My information is that this council was announced on June 3, 2020. Shaner. Yeah, that sounds right. Gordon. So then, at what point, for how long were you actively participating on the council before things started to slow down? Shaner. I would say through August. Gordon. Through August of 2020 or 2021. Shaner. No, it wasn't the second one, that's why I'm confused. The original council was in the spring of 21. No, it was in the spring of, I'm trying to think about this. I'm sorry. Dates are really hard for me. Gordon. Okay, so. Shaner. Let's suffice it to say that there were two councils. One of them was focused on returning kids to school in in-person instruction, and the other one was focused on attending to kids' learning loss. And the first one was prior to the 20 to 21 school year, and the second one was prior to the 21 to 22 school year, and the second one started, I believe, in the spring. Gordon. Okay, how did you become aware of the lawsuit that was filed in this case? Shaner. I'm not sure I remember how I learned about it first. Gordon. Okay, and after it was filed, have you an opportunity to read the lawsuit? Shaner. I read what was in the newspaper about it, the original suit. Gordon. Okay, you read the news coverage, you're saying? Shaner. Gordon. Yes? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Have you ever read the lawsuit itself? Shaner. No. Gordon. So after the lawsuit was filed and there was media, did your office or anyone in the district respond to media requests for information? Shaner. I don't remember. Gordon. Had the district been sued previously while you were superintendent? Shaner. I believe there's an ongoing lawsuit. Gordon. What's that about? Shaner. I believe that's about some staff misconduct. Gordon. Can you be more specific? Shaner. I'm not sure that I can, because it has to do with a juvenile. I would defer to John. Gilliam. Your response calls for attorney-client. Gordon. Okay. I will change my question. Gilliam. Yeah, Gordon. I don't need names. If there's a lawsuit pending, it's a public document. Is the name of the lawsuit in a John Doe? Is that the way it's styled? Shaner. I don't know off the top of my head. Gordon. Well, who is suing the district? Shaner. Gordon. Whose name is on the papers? Shaner. I don't know off the top of my head. Gordon. Is it a student? Shaner. It is a student. Gordon. Okay, and what is the student? You don't have to give me the name, but the papers are public, so, Shaner, it's about a staff member's sexual misconduct. Gordon. Okay, toward a student? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. What court is that in? Shaner. I believe it's in Oakland County, but I'm not sure. Gordon. Okay, you have not been asked to be a witness in that case as of this point? Shaner. No. Gordon. Okay. So, once our lawsuit was filed, Ms. Dinverno's case, did you look into it to see whether the claims she was making were accurate or any wrongdoing had been done by the district? Gilliam. Form. You can answer. Shaner. I couldn't hear you, Mr. Gilliam. Gilliam. I said, object to form. You can answer. Shaner. Oh, sorry. Can you ask again? I'm sorry. Gordon. Lori, will you read it back? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 10:46 a.m. Okay. So, once our lawsuit was filed, Ms. Dinverno's case, did you look into it to see whether the claims she was making were accurate or any wrongdoing had been done by the district? Shaner. No. Gordon. So there was an allegation in the lawsuit that somebody from the Board of Education had contacted Ms. Dinverno's employer and that had resulted in her termination. I assume you were aware of that, correct? Shaner. I'm aware of it now. Gordon. Well, were you aware of it when the lawsuit was filed? Shaner. I was aware that was the allegation in the media coverage. Gordon. Okay, so did you take it upon yourself or did you already know the answer as to whether somebody had contacted Ms. Dinverno's employer? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't investigate the Board of Education. I work for them. Gordon. Yeah, well, that wasn't my question. Gordon. Would you read back my question, Lori court reporter? The following record was read by the reporter at 10:47 a.m. Okay. So did you take it upon yourself or did you already know the answer as to whether somebody had contacted Ms. Dinverno's employer? Gordon. I'll take an answer. Shaner. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Gordon. I'll take an answer. Shaner. Can you read it one more time? I still don't understand the question. Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 10:47 a.m. Okay. So did you take it upon yourself, or did you already know the answer as to whether somebody had contacted Ms. Dinverno's employer? Shaner. I didn't know the answer to that. Gordon. Well, did it concern you that a parent in your district had been fired due to her speech? Was that any kind of a concern to you? Gilliam. Object to form. Assumes facts not in evidence. You can go ahead. Shaner. I'm not sure that I know that she was fired. Gordon. Well, did you read in the complaint that she was Shaner. I didn't read the complaint. Gordon. Well, you read the news media, sir, right, and that's what, Shaner. Right. Gordon. They said, right? Okay, so you saw the allegation in the news media? Shaner. Gordon. Correct? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. And you know you're being sued? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. You and the district, correct? Shaner. Correct. Gordon. So when you read that in the media, did you know what had happened? Shaner. No. Gordon. Okay, and Ms. Bull was named as the person that had called my client's employer, correct? Shaner. That's what the news coverage said. Gordon. Right. So you are the superintendent, you report to the board, Bull is the president of the board, there's a lawsuit going on, Shaner. Gordon. And it's being covered in the media. Do you contact Ms. Bull, or did she contact you to discuss this allegation that had been made? Shaner. I don't recall who contacted whom. Gordon. But you did discuss it with her, is that correct? Shaner. Well, it was all over the media. We were aware of it. Gordon. I didn't ask you that. I know that it was in the media. Shaner. Gordon. Lori, would you read back the question? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 10:49 a.m. But you did discuss it with her, is that correct? Shaner. Of course we discussed it. Gordon. Okay, and what did you discuss with Ms. Bull about whether or not she had contacted Ms. Dinverno's employer, Blake's? Shaner. She indicated to me that she didn't do that. Gordon. Okay, and what did she say specifically about that? Shaner. I don't remember. Gordon. Okay, and was she upset that she had been accused of this, from what you could tell? Shaner. Sure. Gordon. Okay, so what's the next thing that happened? Did you strike that? Did you discuss this with the board? Shaner. No, I didn't discuss it with the board. Gordon. Have you ever discussed with the board whether Ms. Bull contacted Blake's? Shaner. No. Gordon. So did you think that Ms. Dinverno was lying? Shaner. I don't know what Ms. Dinverno. I don't know Ms. Dinverno, so I can't answer that question. Gordon. Yeah, but you're reading it. So you didn't know whether my client was not being accurate or whether Ms. Bull was not being accurate, is that what you are saying? Shaner. I believe Kristen Bull. Gordon. Okay, I'm going to go on mute for 1 second, guys. Hang on. Court reporter. Off the record at 10:52 a.m. Back on the record at 10:52 a.m. Gordon. Dr. Shaner, when school closed and went remote in March of 2020, there were reactions from the parents, correct? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And were you aware that parent groups had formed on social media to discuss opinions about this? Shaner. Oh, there were several groups, I'm sure. People tell me about that stuff all the time. Gordon. What did you learn about the groups that were discussing? Shaner. Oh, some of them were for remote learning, some of them were against remote learning. Gordon. And what groups were you aware of during 2020 and 2021 that had opinions? What social media groups? Shaner. I don't know their specific names, there are so many of them, but there was one group that was very passionate about in-person learning, and there were other groups that had varying opinions. Gordon. And what did you understand the group that was passionate about in-school learning? What did you understand those people are just the parents who attended board meetings who you were in touch with? What did you understand their opinion was as to this? Shaner. Well, we value, go ahead. Gilliam. I just have an objection to form. Go ahead, Dr. Shaner. Shaner. One more time, Ms. Gordon? I'm sorry, Gordon. What was, as you understood it, what was the opinion of the parents who were not in favor of remote learning? What was your understanding of that? Shaner. Well, there were a myriad of opinions in a myriad of degrees of what people thought we should do, so I don't think I could go qualify any one Facebook with a specific opinion one way or the other. Gordon. I didn't ask you, Shaner. Very, very tumultuous. Sorry, Gilliam, hang on, Ms. Gordon. I think he is still answering. And, Dr. Shaner, if you could wait for her to finish her question as well. I think you both are anticipating each other. Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. Go ahead. You were explaining to me. My question had been what, as you understood it, was the position or some of the positions of the parents who were not in favor of remote learning. Shaner. Yeah, again, there was, again, a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions in varying degrees. Some people didn't believe that COVID was real and we should just have school as normal. Some people thought we should be back in a hybrid environment. Some people thought it should be everyone's choice to be in whatever mode they wanted to be. There's a lot of opinions on it. Gordon. Whose decision was it to go to remote learning when you did? Shaner. Ultimately, the responsibility was mine. Gordon. Okay, did the board vote on this? Shaner. No, Gordon. So who assisted you in making your decision, if anybody? Shaner. Oh, an enormous team of people. Gordon. Who were they? Shaner. Yeah, an enormous team of people, including our labor leaders, including staff members. It's an enormous, enormous logistical undertaking. I hope I never have to do it again in my career. Gordon. I'm just talking about the decision itself. I realize that once the decision was made. Shaner. Yeah, it's an enormous undertaking, because we had to figure out what we were going to do with kids and keep them safe and try to keep instruction going as quickly as possible. So it was not a knee-jerk decision. It was a very complicated matter and continues to be. And evolving, I might add. I'm sorry, Gordon. So I'm breaking my question down. I realize that, once the decision was made or that you thought you had made, you were getting close to making your decision, you had to make plans to make this happen. But aside from making it happen, the actual decision that you are not going to have students in buildings, who was immediately involved in that decision along with you, who was the ultimate decision maker? Shaner. It was an enormous amount of input from a large team, and certainly my cabinet, certainly talking to our collective bargaining units, having discussion with particular teachers and administrators. Again, a very difficult decision to make. Gordon. Did you have a specific team that you worked with on this? Shaner. No, there's always my cabinet team and then, again, trying to pull as many people into the decision-making process. It was a very gut-wrenching decision. Gordon. And how was it announced to parents? Shaner. I made an announcement, using our phone system, with my voice, as I thought they should hear it from me. Gordon. And board meetings continued to occur, is that correct? Shaner. They did. Gordon. What was the setup for board meetings after you were no longer in person? Shaner. They were done on Zoom. Gordon. And how were they organized with regard to participation by parents? Shaner. They were allowed to participate by Zoom according to the governor's emergency order and advice from our council on how to do it. Gordon. Who was your council at that time? Shaner. Collins and Blaha. Gordon. Was Collins and Blaha the council for the district when you came on board or not? Shaner. No, Gordon. Who was council at that time? Shaner. They had a bunch of different firms that they used for different things. Gordon. And, go ahead. Shaner. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Gordon. Go ahead. I interrupted you. Shaner. Yeah, they had a retainer with Clark Hill when I came on, and they were paying them an enormous amount of money for legal services they weren't using. Gordon. Okay, so were you involved in hiring Collins and Blaha? Shaner. I was. Gordon. And what was that process? Shaner. They are well respected in the field, and my colleagues suggested that I give them a try, and the Warren Consolidated used them as well. Gordon. I'm sorry, what about Warren Consolidated? Shaner. Warren Consolidated uses Collins and Blaha as well. A bunch of school districts across southeast Michigan use Collins and Blaha. Gordon. So had you, Shaner. They've been in the law business for a very long time. Gordon. So had you worked with Collins and Blaha previously, prior to getting, Shaner? I had, yeah, in a very different capacity. Gordon. Okay, so did you have a contract with Clark Hill? Shaner. Yeah, there was a huge retainer the district was paying, and we weren't using the hours. Gordon. So did you interview anybody else other than Collins and Blaha? Shaner. We use a couple of different law firms, actually. We use Les Gilbert's, and sometimes we still use Clark Hill for immigration law. Just depends on what we're doing. Gordon. What does Collins and Blaha do for the district? Shaner. They're our general counsel. Gordon. And are they on a retainer? Shaner. No. Gordon. They bill you hourly? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. What's the hourly rate? Shaner. I don't know off the top of my head. Gordon. Do you approve the bills? Shaner. I do. Gordon. And what is their role in this litigation? Shaner. General counsel. Gordon. They're not a counsel of record, do you understand that, in this lawsuit? Shaner. I do. Gordon. But they are expending time and being paid for time with regard to this lawsuit? Shaner. They are. Gordon. What services are they providing with this lawsuit, in that they are not litigation counsel? Shaner. General counsel. Gordon. I don't know what that means in your world, so you will have to explain to me what they do. Shaner. It's like a general corporate counsel. They provide overall advice. Gordon. So they are providing advice as to the litigation? Shaner. No. Gordon. What are they doing with regard to the litigation? That's my question to you. Shaner. Again, I think Mr. Chisholm is here as just monitoring it. Gordon. Okay. Shaner. On behalf of the district. Gordon. Yeah, I know. I've seen him on the DEPs previously. But you said they are providing you with legal counsel with regard to the litigation, but they are not counsel of record in the litigation, so I'm trying to find out from you. Shaner. Yeah, I'm not sure Gordon, hang on. Hang on a second please. Shaner. Sorry. Gordon. What is the role of Collins and Blaha vis-a-vis this litigation, other than sitting in on the DEPs? Gilliam. And, Dr. Shaner, I would encourage you to, Shaner. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure how to answer that, to be honest with you. Gordon. No, you are a client. You are a client, though. Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. You are the paying, you're writing checks, right? Shaner. Gordon. So you know what they're doing because you see their bills, and I assume you approve what they are doing. So I'm asking you, what is Collins and Blaha's role, Shaner, Gordon, in this litigation? Shaner. Yeah, sure. Gilliam. Let me just object to, Shaner. I guess I'm not sure, Gilliam. Let me just object to asked and answered. And also, Dr. Shaner, to the extent that it calls for any attorney-client communications, you do have a privilege and I would encourage you to not destroy that privilege. Shaner. Yeah, I don't know what technical terms you want me to use. Gordon. I don't need technical terms, sir. Shaner. Collins and Blaha is our general counsel. Gordon. Okay, but are they assisting you in this lawsuit, other than sitting in on DEPs and whatever DEP prep they did? Shaner. I'm going to defer to Mr. Gilliam so far as Gordon. You can't do that, sir. All he's telling you is you cannot tell me what your discussions with Collins and Blaha have been. That's the privileged area. This is a government entity that is paying their bill, and you are the one that's overseeing the bill, so I'm trying to find out what services they are providing vis-a-vis the litigation. Shaner. Yeah, but that's going to require me to, Gordon. No. Shaner. Compromise my attorney-client, Gordon. Just tell me what, Shaner. That's how I feel. Gordon. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not how you feel. It's what the law is. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. So I'm asking you what tasks, the nature of the tasks, not their communication. Are they, Shaner? With all due, Gordon. Don't tell me with all due respect. Your attorney will tell you when not to answer. For example, are they reviewing deposition transcripts? Gilliam. If you know, Dr. Shaner. Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Well, again, you see their bills. Have their bills gone up since this litigation was filed? Shaner. I don't know the answer to that. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Who would know the answer to that? Shaner. I'm not sure. Gordon. I thought you looked at their bills? Shaner. I do. Gordon. Are you billed monthly by Collins and Blaha? Shaner. This is a very complex operation and very busy. I don't immediately recall what was on the Collins and Blaha bill last month. I didn't mean to set you off, Ms. Gordon. I'm just trying to offer respect. I apologize. Gordon. You didn't set me off. It's normal in depositions. Nothing to be concerned about. Shaner. I'm not concerned about it. I just want to make sure that I'm extending respect. Gordon. No problem. Gilliam. We're good. We're good. Gordon. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. I want to grab a couple of documents, and I'm not in front of my desk. So let's go off the record for 5 minutes, guys. Gilliam. Can we come back at 11:15? Would that be all right? Gordon. Sure, no problem, John. Court reporter. Off the record at 11:07 a.m. Back on the record at 11:20 a.m. Gordon. So, Dr. Shaner, you knew as of December 2020 that Ms. Fragomeni was the one that had contacted Blake's and not Kristen Bull, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't remember that. Gordon. What do you mean you don't remember that? Shaner. I don't remember. Gordon. Well, when did you learn? When did you discuss with Debbie Fragomeni whether she should call Blake's? Shaner. I didn't discuss it with her. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. You never discussed that with her, sir? Shaner. No, Gordon. That's your testimony as of today's date. You have not discussed with her why she talked to Marty Blake about Elena Dinverno? Shaner. I talked to her after I found out she did it. Gordon. And what did you say? Shaner. I asked her why she did it. Gordon. What did she say? Shaner. To protect children. Gordon. What did that mean? Shaner. Means what she said, she wanted to protect children. Gordon. So how would she do that by talking to Marty Blake? Shaner. I'm not sure. Gordon. Well, sir, you must have gotten a little bit more information from her on that, did you not? Shaner. She said she did not regret what she did and she was protecting children. That's what she said. Gordon. Okay, so what did you say when she said that? Shaner. I guess I didn't really have any reaction to it. Gordon. So that was fine with you, that your assistant superintendent called somebody's boss to complain about a parent in the district who is employed, you thought that was fine? Shaner. Did you say Marty Blake? Gordon. Yes, Marty Blake, that's what I said. Shaner. Oh, she didn't tell me. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you correctly. She didn't say she called Marty Blake. Gordon. Who did she say she called? Shaner. She said she called Sandra Blake. Gordon. Are you aware, sitting here today, she talked to Marty Blake? Shaner. No, not at all. Gordon. So what, Shaner? I don't know who Marty Blake is. Gordon. Okay, you didn't know, sitting here today, that your assistant superintendent talked to Marty Blake, my client's employer. You, Shaner. I don't. Gordon. Did not know that? Shaner. I don't. Gordon. This is the first you are hearing about this? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Did you talk to Ms. Fragomeni about her deposition? Shaner. I did. Gordon. Have you read the transcript? Shaner. No. Gordon. She didn't tell you that she said under oath that she talked to Marty Blake? Shaner. No. Gordon. Do you know what Marty Blake testified to? Shaner. I have no idea. Gordon. So let's discuss, then, what you thought she was calling Sandra Blake about. First of all, as you understand it, how does Ms. Fragomeni know Sandra Blake? Shaner. Say that again? Gordon. As far as you understand it, how does Debbie know Sandra Blake? Shaner. She said she'd known her for a long time. 2. Gordon. Do you know Sandra Blake? Shaner. No. Gordon. Do you know her daughter who teaches in your school district? Shaner. No, I do not. Gordon. Have you met her? Shaner. Not that I can recall. Gordon. Have you been to Blake's? Shaner. No, not my kind of apple orchard. Sorry. Gordon. What do you mean by that? Shaner. I'm a wilderness guy. I don't really care to be around people, to be honest with you, when I'm not at work. It's a very crowded place. Not my thing. Gordon. Okay, has your family ever gone there, any family members? Shaner. Not that I'm aware of. Gordon. So you do wilderness stuff in your downtime? Shaner. Yeah, if I go to the apple orchard, I go to Highs at 37 and Van Dyke, because there's fewer people there and it's not commercialized. Gordon. Do you have a difficult time getting along with some people? Shaner. No, Gordon. You seem like you're kind of defensive about people, Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. No, Gordon, is that accurate? Shaner. Don't think so. I love, Gordon, is that accurate? Gilliam. Hang on. Shaner. No, I'll answer that. I love what I do, and I love the people I work with, and I love the community that I serve. And the reason I keep doing what I'm doing through the terrible global pandemic is because we care deeply about kids and we care deeply about what we are doing for kids. Gordon. Yeah, well, you are also making a really good salary and financial package, correct? That has to be a reason you stay? Gilliam. Object to form, argumentative. Gordon. Correct? Shaner. No, that's not correct, actually. Gordon. Okay, well, Shaner. That's not correct. I mean, honestly, Gordon. Okay. Shaner. Yeah, John, if you're okay with it, I'll answer it. Shaner. I'm eligible to retire. I certainly could have other options. I stay here because I like to be here. Gordon. What would your retirement package be? Shaner. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't considered it. Gordon. Would it be $280,000 a year? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Okay, so what did you understand Debbie had said to Sandra Blake? Shaner. We did not speak about the contents of the conversation. Gordon. Okay, well, as of today's date, you have not talked to her about the conversation? Shaner. She told me she talked to Sandra to protect kids. Gordon. I know. You already said that. And then Ms. Dinverno, a parent in your district, was terminated from Blake's. You became aware of that? Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. And did you know that my client was told she was terminated? She was told by Blake's that she was terminated because somebody from the board had contacted Blake's? Gilliam. Object to foundation. Assumes facts not in evidence. Go ahead. Gordon. No, it doesn't. Those facts are in evidence. Gordon. Go ahead. Shaner. Okay, I need you to ask one more time. I get distracted when you guys do that. Sorry. Gordon. Lori, can you read that, please? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 11:26 a.m. And did you know that my client was told she was terminated? She was told by Blake's that she was terminated because somebody from the board had contacted Blake's? Shaner. No, I don't know that. Gordon. You've never heard that? Shaner. I've heard that as an assertion. I haven't heard it as a statement of fact. Gordon. Well, it happens to be true. I mean, Shaner. I have no knowledge. Gordon. Hang on 1 second. Shaner. Sorry. Gordon. We're on Zoom. We've got to let each other finish. We have deposed people from Blake's, Shaner, Gordon. And it's uncontested that my client was told in writing that somebody from the Board of Education had contacted Blake's. You're not aware of that? Shaner. No, Gordon. So that is true that my client was told that somebody from the board had contacted Blake's, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. And you know that to be true today, that somebody from the district contacted Blake's, correct? Shaner. I know that Debbie Fragomeni contacted Sandra Blake to protect children. Gordon. Okay, well, it's uncontested, sir. Marty Blake has given testimony under oath that she talked to Marty Blake, as well, okay? Shaner. Okay, Gordon. You're just learning that for the first time? Shaner. Yes, Gordon. Nobody's told you that, Ms. Fragomeni's never told you that. Nothing like that has come to your attention at all? Shaner. Not at all. Gordon. So when would you have learned that Fragomeni is the person that called Blake's and not Bull, as we stated in our lawsuit? When did you learn that? Shaner. Again, Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Yeah, I thought I answered that already, but it was when Debbie told me in conjunction with her deposition. Gordon. You are telling me you learned that from her deposition? Shaner. No, I was telling you, like I said before, to be clear about it, she's the one that told me that. Gordon. I know. When did you learn about that? Shaner. Sometime in the last month or two. Gordon. Okay, well, that's not what Kristen Bull has testified to under oath. Shaner. Okay, I don't know what Kristen Bull testified to under oath. Gordon. Okay, so let's just see what you're going to testify to under oath, then. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. She testified that, the following, that you told her that Elena Dinverno's employer was good friends with one of the administrators and that the administrator had let Elena Dinverno's employer know about Elena's actions and that she learned that from Dr. Shaner. Shaner. I don't, Gordon. Hang on, please. Hang on. Shaner. Sorry. Geez. Sorry. I'm having a hard time hearing. I apologize. I'm not trying to set you off. I'm sorry. Gordon. I just want to get my question out. Just take your time. Okay, let me. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Finish and then you go. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. So this is what Bull testified to. That you told her that one of the administrators was good friends with somebody at Blake's. Is that an accurate statement? Did you tell Ms. Bull that? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. And she also testified that you let her know, Ms. Bull, what was going on with the parent, that would be Ms. Dinverno, encouraging the videos, and that you let her know that the individual was Ms. Dinverno and that she worked for Blake's and that Debbie Fragomeni was friends with someone in the Blake family. Is that a false statement by Kristen Bull? Shaner. I don't know. I didn't. Gilliam. Object. Shaner. I don't recall anything like that. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. And she also said that you told her that Debbie Fragomeni was calling or was talking to Blake's. Is that a false statement by Ms. Bull? Shaner. I don't recall anything like that. Gordon. Well, you may not recall it, but do you deny it? Shaner. I don't recall anything like that. Gordon. Ms. Bull wouldn't be lying under oath, I assume, would she, as far as you know? Shaner. I'm sorry, what are you asking me to speak to? Gordon. Do you have any reason to think Ms. Bull was lying under oath? Shaner. No, Gordon. So Ms. Bull says you told her that Fragomeni was calling and talking to the Blakes, but you are not admitting that here today? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gilliam. Objection. Shaner. They, Gilliam, asked and answered. You can go ahead, sir. Shaner. Quite honestly, there are dozens of parents that I talk to every day that are angry, and I don't get fixated on one or another, so I don't recall what was said or done. Gordon. Well, sir, there is now a federal lawsuit going on where you are a named defendant. Shaner. I understand. Gordon. Okay, and this is not a parent you are talking to, this is the president of the school board. And according to her, you took time to tell her that the parent, Ms. Dinverno, worked at Blake's and that somebody, your assistant superintendent, was calling Blake's. This isn't just any old parent. This is somebody. Shaner. Yeah, no, maybe you misunderstood. Gilliam, hang on. Shaner. Sorry. Gilliam. Dr. Shaner, just let her finish her question, please. Shaner. Okay, sorry. Gilliam. It's okay. Gordon. This isn't any parent, this is somebody you have taken it upon yourself to have a discussion with the president of the board about. And Ms. Bull then lets the board know about that. Were you aware of that? Shaner. No. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. And your office had been monitoring social media posts of parents who were critical of remote learning, correct? Your office was monitoring that? Shaner. No, that's not correct. Gordon. What's not correct about it? Shaner. The way you qualified that. Gordon. Well, you go ahead and tell me what they were doing, then. I am using the word monitoring. Shaner. Yeah, we value the input of all parents, and we certainly want to keep our thumb on the pulse of everything that's going on in the community, so we monitor social media very closely on all fronts and make sure we're responsive to the community. Gordon. What do you monitor? What social media? Shaner. Oh, there's so many different. Gordon. Well, Shaner. Facebook. Gordon. Tell me, sir. You tell me, Gilliam. Hang on, Ms. Gordon. If you could please let him finish his answer before you ask another question. Shaner. Yeah, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. There's literally dozens of these Facebook pages where folks are sharing their views. Gordon. So you spend taxpayer money reviewing what the public is saying about the district on all of these various sites? Shaner. We monitor a lot of different areas of social media to make sure we're being responsive to the community. Gordon. I don't see you monitoring to be responsive. I see you monitoring, from all the documents I have, I see you monitoring to find people who are complaining, and then you have your lawyers write them cease and desist letters. So I'm going to go back to my question. What media, social media sites, after you went remote, were being monitored by your staff? Shaner. Specifically, I couldn't tell you. Gordon. Well, give me a rough idea. Because you received copies of material, and a lot of time was spent by your office compiling documentation on parents. So why don't you tell me what you know of that these groups were? Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Hang on. Let's start at the top. Let's start at Facebook. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. What Facebook accounts was your office, and by your office, I assume you mean Lori Grain and Amy DeCress. Is this who was doing this? Gilliam. Let me just, Shaner. Well, Gilliam, object to the form. Shaner. Yeah, so, again, I just want to be clear about the social media. We do watch it and try to make sure we know what's going on in our community, but that's not the only place that we get information on social media. Believe it or not, there are parents that support what we are doing, and they often share what's going on in social media with us, as well, so. Gordon. So what was your point there? The parents contact you about what's going on? Shaner. Yeah, Gordon, in social media? Shaner. My point is that we are responsive to social media. Gordon. Yeah, I see that. I see the cease and desist letters you've sent out and the police that you've called. I see that you are responsive. At least on that end, I've seen it. I haven't seen any other positive responses, but perhaps they do exist. But I'm going to go back to the Facebook accounts that are actually monitored. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. So what do you know of in that regard? Let's take it from the top. I assume the district has some kind of a Facebook page? Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. Okay. Does somebody monitor what's being posted on that page? Shaner. Of course. Gordon. Okay. What other social media is monitored other than the district's own? Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Facebook page? Shaner. I'm not sure specifically. Again, there's dozens of them, and I'm not focused on which Facebook pages are monitored and not monitored. I'm focused on staying very laser-like focus, serving kids and making sure we're moving the school district forward in very arduous times. I'm not focused on any specific Facebook page. Gordon. Well, your staff is. They are very focused and they're spending a lot of time compiling it, and you are getting copies of it. You don't recall that? Gilliam. Object to form, Shaner. I get, Gilliam, argumentative. Shaner. A lot of information from a lot of different places. Gordon. Oh, okay. Gilliam. Argumentative. Gordon. And your assistant superintendent Ms. Fragameni, keeps a close eye on what's being said that's negative on social media, is that accurate? Shaner. I don't know what Debbie monitors. Gordon. She lets you know what she's learned, doesn't she, from time to time? Shaner. Of course. Gordon. And Amy DeCress, who reports to Ms. Grain, who is on your cabinet, quickly found out who Ms. Dinverno was and let you know, is that correct? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. So I'll read you a text message from Ms. Bull. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Dated December 13, 2020. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Read the email yesterday from the parent who claims board members are calling employers. That woman is the marketing director for one of my advertising clients at Cranes. Her employer is good friends with one of our administrators, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Who let that employer know that the company's marketing director was posting all over Facebook encouraging RCS parents to send her videos of remote learning kids in distress for a movie she was going to make to share with us. My assumption is that the employer talked to her, and she assumes it was me who told. She posts on social media under a different name, but Amy was able to quickly figure out that this was the same person. Do you remember learning that? Shaner. No, I don't. Gordon. Aha. Let me tell you what she goes on to say. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Same post, December 13, 2020. Bob is going to call her tomorrow to let her know no board members are calling workplaces. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. You did that, didn't you? You called my client, didn't you? Shaner. I call a lot of people. I don't recall who I talked to. Gordon. You know what? Shaner. On the phone. Gordon. Look, Sir, Gilliam. Hang on, Ms. Gordon. I would just ask that you let him finish his answer before you. Gordon. I think he did finish. Gordon. Did you finish? Were you finished with your answer? Shaner. Yeah. Well, yeah. I speak to a lot of parents on the phone. Gordon. Yeah, you know, that's an evasive answer, in my opinion. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. And it's not responsive to my question, and, Shaner. I'm sorry. Gordon. My question had to do specifically with a text by your boss, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. To your other bosses, where she had discussed this with you, and that, according to her, you were going to talk to Ms. Dinverno and let her know no board members are calling workplaces. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Did you talk to Ms. Dinverno? Gilliam. Objection. Shaner. Probably. 13 Gilliam, asked and answered. Gordon. Go ahead. Your attorney, Shaner. I don't remember. Gordon. Cut off your answer. Shaner. Any specific? Yeah, I don't remember specific conversations. Gordon. So getting ready for your dep today, you didn't look back at any of this, you didn't get ready for any of these questions, is that? Do I have that right? That's why you can't answer today, because you haven't looked at any of the documents? Shaner. Yeah, I didn't look at anything for today in terms of documents. I'm busy. Gordon. Yeah. Shaner. Running a $200 million school district. Gordon. Oh, well, you know, we all have jobs, and we're all busy, but, Gilliam. Ms. Gordon. Gordon. I'm sorry, Gilliam. If you'd like to show him the document, you could. Gordon. I appreciate that, John. Gilliam. You could show him, and that might help. Gordon. Thank you, John. I take your point. Gilliam. Gordon. My point was that I have a taxpayer-paid individual here who is being sued and the district is being sued and it's spending a lot of tax dollars on the defense of this case. And this witness, who is a pivotal witness, obviously, did not. I was confirming that he had not done anything to refresh his recollection to answer questions today. Gordon. So, easy to come in and say, I'm a busy man. I don't remember, when you don't look at documents. Shaner. I'm not sure that's what I said. Gordon, I heard what you said. I heard what you said. Shaner. So I just want to be clear about that. Gordon. Yeah, I heard what you said, you're a busy man, you've got a big district to run. Shaner. That's not, Gordon, and talk to a lot of people. Shaner. Yeah, those were not the words I used. Gordon. I'm paraphrasing. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. And then in another text by Ms. Bull on the same day, she says, Debbie is friends with the owners. And so, obviously, Debbie was friends with the Blakes, we know she called the Blakes, and according to Ms. Bull, you were going to talk to Ms. Dinverno. So let's take a look and see what happened here. So, on 11-5, Debbie Fragomeni, strike that. Yeah, 11-5, Ms. Fragomeni sends an email to you, Dr. Shaner, and to Amy DeCress, and she says, see Amy's message below. How horrifying for these children. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. And here's the message. Subject, children in distress. Once again, they are calling for videos of kids in distress. I know parents are giving permission for this, but can't we supersede in protecting these poor kids? Elena Louise is the FB profile name. Her real name is Elena Dinverno, parent of at SHHS and at Heart. And then she gives the Dinverno email address and 2 phone numbers for her. And she adds, she's the marketing director for Blake's Hard Cider. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. Why do you, sir, have an employee in your district, in your chain of command, who is looking up parents' children's names, phone numbers and employers? Shaner. We look up We look up parents' names all the time to find out where their kids are at. Gordon. Okay, well, that's not what this is, sir. Why did somebody take time to look up where Elena Dinverno worked and send it to you in an email? Shaner. It sounds to me like they were concerned for kids. Gordon. What does that have to do with where my client works? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Well, were you concerned for kids? Shaner. From what you just read to me, yes. Gordon. Okay, what were you concerned about? Shaner. About children in distress being videoed, that's what would concern me. Gordon. So tell me specifically what, in that your assistant superintendent was so concerned she actually called my client's boss and then told you about it, which you may or may not recall. Shaner. Gordon. What were these videos that were so disturbing that somebody called my client's boss to tell the boss this? You tell me what you understood these videos were. Shaner. Yeah, are you asking me? Gilliam. Object, hang on. Shaner. What I saw on the video? Gilliam. Hang on. Gordon. No. Gilliam. Hang on. Object to form. Assumes facts not in evidence. Go ahead. Shaner. Are you asking me what I saw in the video, Ms. Gordon? Gordon. No, I didn't ask you that. Shaner. Okay, maybe I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry. Gordon. Lori, can you read back the question? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 11:46 a.m. What were these videos that were so disturbing that somebody called my client's boss to tell the boss this? You tell me what you understood these videos were. Shaner. Well, again, it sounds to me like people were being encouraged to video their kids in distress. I didn't actually see a video, so I couldn't tell you what they looked like. Gordon. Okay, well, you and others seem to be distressed enough about this that somebody called my client's boss. So I want to know what your understanding is of these videos. Shaner. Again, Gilliam, object to form. Shaner. Didn't see the video. Gordon. Sir, okay, let me just take a pause here. Shaner. You're asking, Gordon, hang on a second. Hang on, Dr. Shaner. I know you didn't see the videos. I'm not asking you that. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. You have been given information about videos that parents have given permission for about. This is not my words or my client's words. This is your office's words. About kids in distress, how horrifying. So what did, how horrifying, mean in when you got this email? What was your understanding of the horrifying part? Shaner. Well, Gilliam. Object to form, object to foundation. You are asking him about Ms. Fragomeni's state of mind. You can go ahead, Dr. Shaner. Gordon. That's coaching. That's definitely coaching. Go ahead. Gilliam. It's an improper question. Gordon. It's not. Go ahead. Shaner. Again, I didn't see the video, so I can't speak to any videos that were. Gordon. Sir, Shaner. Made. Gordon. Sir, Shaner. I'm, Gordon. Please don't, Shaner. Trying to get to an answer. Gordon. Tell us that. There were no videos at the time this email was written. So let's just drop that and go on with, Shaner, but, Gordon, what your understanding was. Shaner. Can I just repeat that for context? I don't want to aggravate you, I'm just trying to set some context here. Gordon. You don't need to. I heard it the first 5 times. Go ahead. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. Go ahead. What did you understand? Gilliam. You can answer that, Dr. Shaner. Shaner. Okay, I was just waiting for. Okay. Again, I didn't see a video. What you are describing to me almost sounds like it almost should have been a protective services referral, and I have a question about that. Gordon. Okay, so let's go back to see what I'm describing. They are calling for videos of kids in distress. Shaner. Gordon. You think Child Protective Services should be called? Shaner. Yeah, I think if someone is videoing their child in distress rather than attending to them, that's troubling to me. Gordon. Well, who said that? I mean, what do you mean by distress? You're ready to call Child Protective Services, so what does kids in distress mean to you? Distress about not going to wrestling practice, distress about some personal issue? What do you, Shaner? Well, I'm not sure. I would have to investigate it further. Gordon. But yet you just told me you would call Child Page Protective Services. Shaner. No. What I said was it sounds like it could have been a protective services referral. Gordon. Okay, well, you must certainly know what the videos were about, don't you, because you heard quite a bit about them? Shaner. You just told me they are about children in distress. Gordon. Sir, I didn't tell you this. You got these emails yourself. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. You are the recipient at the time of, okay? Shaner. Okay, Gordon. You got them. I want to know what you understood when you got them. These aren't my words. These are the words you're exchanging with your crew. So I want to know if you understood what the videos were about. Gilliam. Let me just object. Asked and answered. I think this has been covered, and now it's, Gordon. He hasn't answered it, but I will accept what he said. He's willing to call Child Protective Services. Gilliam. He keeps giving an answer. Gordon. Yeah, well, you can, it speaks for itself. Okay. Also on November 5th, strike that. Did you then discuss with Lori Grain the videos after she told you, how horrifying? Shaner. I don't recall. Gordon. Did you tell somebody to look into calling Child Protective Services? Shaner. I don't recall that, either. Gordon. And did you ever learn what the point of the video was going to be by the parents that thought that their children's voices should be heard? Shaner. I'm sorry, I did not hear that again. I apologize. Gordon. Lori, would you mind reading that back? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 11:51 a.m. And did you ever learn what the point of the video was going to be by the parents that thought that their children's voices should be heard? Shaner. I didn't see a video. Gordon. I know, but did you hear about it, what the videos were going to be about? Was it children expressing their feelings about, in your opinion, is there anything wrong with children, students, expressing their feelings about working remotely, learning remotely? Shaner. No, a student voice is really important to what we do, but the word you used is distress. Gordon. No, sir, it's not my word, it's your staff's word. I said that to you, Shaner. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Gordon. Yeah, that's not my word, that's, Shaner. Sorry. Gordon. Decressaw's word. Shaner. Sorry. Gordon. And that's chimed in on by Grain. They are the ones that say, students in distress, Shaner. Sorry. Gordon. And use the word, horrifying. Did you suggest somebody look into this, once you were CC'd on this email, and possibly call Child Protective Services? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. Okay, so Ms. Dinverno messaged the board through your website on December 12 letting the board know that, certain members of the board are trying to shut two parents up because they are vocal about their pain and suffering. Let me be clear, threats are unacceptable. We are using our voices, our right to free speech. Dr. Shaner, I would be happy to fill you in on what I have learned about certain members of your board reporting parents to their work. Please reach out to me anytime. Do you recall receiving that? Shaner. I don't recall it. Gordon. And then Kristen Bull contacted you after getting that and said to you, let's discuss this when we have a second. That was also on December 12, do you remember that? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. Did you discuss that with Ms. Bull, what Ms. Dinverno had written? Shaner. I don't recall. Gordon. So did it come to your attention that certain board members were contacting parents' places of work to notify them that their behavior on the social channels they participate in is undesirable? Do you remember getting that information? Gilliam. Object to form, assumes facts not in evidence. Go ahead. Shaner. Yeah, I don't recall that. Gordon. Okay, sir, I just read it to you. It has come to my attention that certain board members are contacting parents' places of work. Shaner. Okay, I have no knowledge of that. Gordon. So you do have knowledge of it because Ms. Bull contacted you about it and said, let's discuss this. So perhaps you don't have any memory, but you got this document because I have it right in front of me, and your boss wanted to talk to you about it. But you sit here today and you say, I have no idea what that's about. Shaner. No, I didn't say that. I said I don't recall. Gilliam. And let me just object. I think you misstated his prior testimony. I think the question was about the underlying context and not whether he knew of a communication. Gordon. The record will speak for itself, John. Gilliam. Thank you. Gordon. Who is redacted Shaner? A parent in the community. Gordon. And what was your interaction with her about? I know you got involved with her at some point. Shaner. Well, I'm not involved with her. She's a parent in the community and has been very vocal on a multitude of issues. Gordon. What has she been vocal about? Shaner. Oh, I couldn't even go through the list, it's so many and so. Gordon. Give me the ones that jump out at you. Shaner. She's an advocate for wearing masks, that's probably the most, really, recent. Gordon. She is an advocate for masks? Shaner. I believe so. Gordon. What else has she been vocal about that's caught your attention? Shaner. The city COVID protocols. Gordon. I'm sorry? Shaner. COVID protocols. Gordon. Okay, and what jumps out at you about that? I suppose everybody must have an opinion on that, but what do you, Shaner? Yes. Yeah, everyone's got an opinion on that. Nothing really jumps out about it. It's my miserable COVID life where everyone's got an opinion. Gordon. Okay, but she came to your attention, sir, about something, correct? Shaner. She has brought a lot of things to my attention. Gordon. Okay, she brought something to your attention that caused you to actually reach out to the chief of police, do you recall that? Shaner. Well, Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Yeah, Gilliam. Go ahead. Shaner. No, I don't recall what you're talking about. Gordon. Okay, do you call the chief of police about a lot of parents? Shaner. I call the chief of police about things that concern safety. Gordon. I didn't ask you that. Do you remember my question? Do you call the chief of police about a lot of parents? Shaner. Gordon. That's a yes? Shaner. No, it's not. I call the chief of police about safety issues. Gordon. Well, I didn't ask you about that. I assume you do. I had a different question. Shaner. So, if I call the chief of police about a parent, it would be about a safety concern that I had. Gordon. Okay, well, did you call the chief of police about redacted? Shaner. I called the chief of police about a threat that I received that had redacted name on it. Gordon. What was the threat, sir? Shaner. It said something, the message, that they're going to wreak havoc. Gordon. What kind of havoc? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Well, what was the underlying issue that was being discussed that caused whoever made this post to talk about, as you say, wreaking havoc? Gilliam. Object to foundation. Gordon. Go ahead. Shaner. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think the nature of the threat, was something about in-person instruction. Gordon. What was the threat? Shaner. We're going to wreak havoc, something of that nature. Gordon. What did havoc mean? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Okay, did you contact Ms. Redacted who you believe posted this, to find out about her concerns? Shaner. No, I called the chief of police. Gordon. Okay, but you said you reach out to parents all the time, and if you saw somebody, and you knew Ms. Redacted at this point, correct? You said she was very vocal, right? Shaner. Yeah, I know her, yeah. Gordon. Sure, so you easily could have picked up the phone and called her and said, hey, I read your post. What's your issue here? What are you talking about? Shaner. I believe it was a email, and I believe, after the she denied doing it, so I don't know that I could say that it was a threat from her. I still don't know who it's a threat from. I'm not sure they ever determined where that came from. Gordon. Well, you thought it was redacted, that's when you called the police. That's what you said, isn't it? Shaner. No, I respond to all threats seriously. Gordon. You told the police it was from redacted, didn't you? Shaner. Well, it's got her name on it. Gordon. Right. So since you saw it was redacted, I'm wondering why you didn't pick up the phone and call her. Shaner. Because I refer to the police department for issues of safety. Gordon. Did you feel unsafe with redacted? Shaner. I feel unsafe a lot of times with people, with comments. Gordon. Okay. Have you called the police on other occasions? Shaner. I have. Gordon. And what else have you called the police about since 2020, January 2020, with regard to parents? Shaner. I talked to the police quite a bit. Gordon. About what? Shaner. Oh, all kinds of different things. Particularly since the Oxford shooting. Gordon. Well, I'm not talking about the Oxford shooting time period, sir. I'm talking about 2020 right now, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. And 2021. You are back in class now, aren't you? Shaner. Oh, yeah, we have been, yeah. Gordon. So I'm talking about the discussion over COVID. Because obviously I can see from your office how much parents' comments were monitored continually, and it was about COVID. So were you calling the chief of police about parents other than Ms. Redacted? Shaner. I talked to the chief of police about, well, let me think about this. No, I don't think I have. I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. Not at that time, Gordon. Who is redacted at this time in 2020? Did she have children in the district? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. How many children? Shaner. I don't know off the top of my head. Gordon. Okay. Had she been a parent in the district for some time? Shaner. Yeah, I'd assume so. I don't know how long she's been in the district. Gordon. And have you spoken to her? Had you spoken to her personally as of July 2020? Shaner. I've attempted to speak with her multiple times in the past. Gordon. Okay. Had she ever threatened you verbally? Shaner. No. Gordon. Did she seem to be a mentally unbalanced person? Shaner. I'm not a psychologist. Gilliam. Let me just object. This, Gordon. No, but you're, Gilliam. Let me just place an objection. He's not qualified to answer that and, Gordon. Oh, please. Gordon. You called the police on her, and I'm wondering what your thought process was when you called the police on a parent and whether you had any interaction with her. Shaner. Gordon. Hang on. And you knew her, and whether you formed an opinion that she possibly was capable of some kind of wrongdoing. That's what I'm looking for. Shaner. Okay. I don't know what she's capable of. Gordon. Okay. Shaner. I don't know personally. I received an email of a threatening nature and referred it to the police department. Gordon. Okay. And you told the police that you had an ongoing issue with her and the school board, correct? Shaner. Yeah, I think that. I think I had been telling them I had contact with her in the past. Gordon. You told them that you had an ongoing issue with redacted you and the school board. What was the ongoing issue? Shaner. If that's something that's written in the police report, it sounds like it is based on my experience, I don't know. Gordon. Well, you said it, sir. You said you had an ongoing issue with her, or the board did. What was the ongoing issue? Shaner. Well, maybe it was a poor choice of words, but had contact with her in the past. Gordon. About what? Shaner. Again, multiple issues. Gordon. You also told the police that Redacted runs a private parents' Facebook group that has caused issues in the school board, didn't you? Shaner. Say that again? Gordon. You also told the place that Redacted runs a private parents' Facebook group that has caused issues for the school board? Shaner. Yeah, I tried to give the police department some context because it was an electronic threat, and it's often hard to track those down. Gordon. Well, what issues what had Ms. Redacted done that caused issues for the school board? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Well, what were you referring to when you literally told law enforcement this about the parent, that she? Shaner. Yeah, I don't recall. Gordon. Hang on. You've got to let me finish. Shaner. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with this. I apologize. Gordon. Take your time. Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. So what we have here is a situation where you are making a police report on a parent and one of the multiple things you said about her is, Shaner, Gordon. That she's caused issues for the school board. Shaner. Gordon. I'm asking you today, what issues had she caused with the school board? Shaner. I don't recall. Again, maybe it was my choice of words with the police officer that was taking the report. Gordon. And you told the police that you wanted them to tell redacted not to have any further contact with the school board, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Go ahead. Shaner. I don't recall saying that. Gordon. Well, they wrote it down, sir. Shaner. I know. Gordon. Well, is it? Do you think that's something you said, or are you denying it? Shaner. I don't recall. Gordon. In what world would you tell the police to go to a parent, Shaner? I don't tell the police, Gordon. Hang on a second. Shaner. All right. I'm sorry. You don't have to get mad. I'm not doing it maliciously. Gordon. Well, I don't care whether you are doing it maliciously or not. I want to get my question out. Shaner. I hear you. I'm trying. I'll try harder. Gordon. Just sit and listen and wait till I'm done. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Okay. You told the police that you wanted them to contact a parent and tell a parent who had children in the district not to have any more contact with the school board. Now, what would you think would be appropriate about having police go to a parent and say, don't contact the school board? Shaner. Well, first of all, I don't tell the police, Gilliam. Object to form. Object to form. Go ahead. Shaner. I don't tell the police what to do. Gordon. You wanted them to do this, sir. Shaner further stated he wanted me to advise redacted not to have any further contact with the school board, okay? Shaner. Okay. Gordon. This is the police's words. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. This is what you asked them to do. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. So my question to you, as superintendent of the schools, Shaner, Gordon. Why would you think that it would be remotely appropriate to have a police officer tell a parent with children in the district not to contact the school board at all? Shaner. Again, the context of safety. In my mind at that time, I was dealing with a threat. Gordon. So she couldn't contact the school board at all, according to you, and, in addition, you wanted her to be told that your attorneys were going to be sending her a letter. Do you remember that? Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Go ahead. Shaner. Again, I know what I said to the police in the context of a threat. Gordon. That wasn't my question. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Try to listen. Would you read it back, Lori? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 12:08 p.m., so she couldn't contact the school board at all, according to you, and, in addition, you wanted her to be told that your attorneys were going to be sending her a letter. Do you remember that? Shaner. Yeah, again, so it was the context of a threat in terms of the attorney contacting her. Gordon. So you've got the police, Shaner. We have a legal obligation to give parents access to school and school records and discuss their kids' issues. Gordon. So you wanted both the police and your legal counsel to contact a parent in the school? Shaner. It was the context of a threat. Gordon. Yeah, I heard you. And you also wanted to press charges against redacted, didn't you? Shaner. I would press charges against anyone that made a threat. Gordon. Sir, you know what? You've got to just listen to my questions. I'm not asking you in general what you would do. I'm talking about a very specific incident right now. Shaner. Okay. Gordon. You wanted to press charges against redacted, didn't you? Shaner. If she made a threat, certainly. Gordon. What was the threat about? What was the threat requesting that? What was the demand? That what, as you understood it, that made you call the police and get your lawyers out and send a letter? What was the ask from the threatener? Gilliam. Object to form, asked and answered. Go ahead. Shaner. What was the ask by redacted? Gordon. Well, at the time you thought it was redacted, yes. You went to the police, Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. You thought it was her, Shaner. Gordon. So what was being, Shaner? Nature of the, Gordon. What was being, Shaner? Sorry. Gordon. What was being asked? Shaner. Let me try something. I will turn these things up a little bit, see if it helps. Gordon. I think it's, yeah, Shaner. Go ahead. Gordon. Yeah, what was this threat? What was the threatener? Let's call it redacted. What was she requesting that the district do or she would cause chaos? Shaner. I can't recall. I'm sure it was either go remote or not go remote. Gordon. No, it wasn't. Shaner. Oh. Gordon. I'll tell you, I'll read you the email, okay? Shaner. Okay, Gordon. Extend the deadline to August 4th. The parents deserve more time. Shaner. Oh, Gordon. We'll hold out as long as necessary to suit our needs. Does that refresh your recollection? Shaner. Yeah, I guess so. Gordon. Okay, good. So here we had a situation, as I understand it, where parents were being asked to provide input as to remote learning, is that right? Shaner. No, I think she was asking for the deadline. Now that you read that, I think she was asking for the deadline for kids to be enrolled in the virtual academy to be extended. Gordon. Okay, thank you for that explanation. So there was a deadline for parents to decide whether they were going to go virtual or the other alternative, correct? Shaner. Yeah, that's right. That sounds right. Gordon. So the person that sent this email, you thought it was redacted, was demanding that the deadline be extended to August 4th, right? Shaner. That sounds right. Gordon. Okay, does that seem like an unreasonable request? Gilliam. Object to form. Go ahead. Shaner. No, that doesn't seem like an unreasonable request. Gordon. Okay, so the writer wrote, redacted according to you, wrote, I will cause chaos in the district. I will get what I want. You will listen to my demands and that of my forum. So, in addition to wanting to extend the August 4th deadline to August 4th, this writer also wanted you or the board to listen to the forum demands, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Go ahead. Gordon. Correct? Shaner. That's what it sounds like. Gordon. Yeah. And all of the forum demands had to do with this whole situation you were dealing with, COVID and remote learning, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Yeah, no, her forum, I think, has been around a long time. Gordon. What is it? Shaner. It's, Gordon. At this time, what were they talking about? Shaner. I don't even remember what it's had a couple of different names. I don't know what it is. Gordon. So has that bothered you before, the forum that participated in? Shaner. No, Gordon. So you didn't mind her before, but when you got this email you suddenly thought you needed to press charges against her for saying, I will cause chaos in the district. Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. You thought you could press, Shaner, yeah. Gordon. You have a law enforcement background. What law is violated if somebody says, I will cause chaos in the district? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. It's been a long time since I've been on the street, but when I worked at the Troy Police Department, we would certainly look into that and try to find out if that was a threat or not. Gordon. And then you tried to hunt down the IP address of whoever sent that email, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Well, I'm not capable of that, to be honest with you, so, yeah, Gordon. Sir, Shaner. Yeah, I'm going to answer it. It's okay, just give me a second. Yeah, I would, we helped. We tried to help the police with it, yes. Gordon. No, it wasn't helping the police, sir. They never asked you to do it. You on your own had your tech people try to find the IP address, and you told the police that's what you were doing. Do you remember that? Shaner. That's because of the police department. The Rochester Police Department doesn't have the capability of doing that. Gordon. And then you took it upon yourself to send a letter out to the whole school district saying there had been a threat from a parent forum, didn't you? Shaner. I did. Gordon. And you told them that you were looking into it and the police had been called, correct? Shaner. Yep. Gordon. Why did you send out this email, this letter, to all 14,000, or whatever it is, families? Shaner. Like I said before, we felt like that was a threat. We take all threats serious. Gordon. Who is we? You? Shaner. Me? Gordon. You said, we take all threats seriously. Shaner. I'll take responsibility for it. Me. Gordon. What happened when the police contacted Redacted as you subsequently learned? What information did they obtain? Shaner. They didn't obtain, to my understanding is they didn't obtain any information that allowed them to track the threat down. Gordon. Well, she denied sending it, didn't she? Shaner. Sure. Gordon. Well, did you think she was lying? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. And Ms. Redacted was very upset that she was being accused of this and wanted to assure everybody that she would never do anything that was harmful, correct? Shaner. That's my understanding. Gordon. Did you ever circle back to Ms. Redacted to discuss this with her after? Shaner. She won't. Gordon. I'm sorry, go ahead. Shaner. She won't speak to me. Gordon. Well, did you try to circle back to her in late 2020 about this? Shaner. I don't recall. She doesn't ever take my phone calls, though, ever. Gordon. How many calls have you made to her? Shaner. Oh, a lot over the years. Gordon. Does she come to meetings? Shaner. Not in a long time. Gordon. And then you actually did have your lawyer send Ms. Redacted a threatening letter, didn't you? Shaner. I wouldn't, Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I wouldn't say it was threatening. Gordon. Oh, really? What would you say it was? Shaner. I would say it was to inform her. Gordon. Of what? Shaner. I don't recall exactly what the letter said. Gordon. One thing it says, the district will not apologize for identifying you in its community message. Do you remember that? Shaner. No, but we didn't identify her. Gordon. Who drafted this letter? Shaner. A team of people. Gordon. You reviewed it before it went out, didn't you? Shaner. The letter from the lawyer? Gordon. Yeah. Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. So you spent taxpayer money to have Collins and Blaha draft a letter up to a parent telling Redacted that she had repeatedly misrepresented things in prior correspondence with the district. What was that referring to? Shaner. Oh, that's, again, for instance, not taking my phone calls and then telling the community or people that she's talked to that she hadn't talked to me, when I made multiple efforts to contact her. Gordon. So let me understand this. You learned that Redacted was telling people in the community that you would not talk to her, when, in fact, you had tried to reach her. Is that what you're saying? Shaner. That's just one example. Gordon. So you thought you would have lawyers reach out to her about that statement? Shaner. No, that's not what I said. Gordon. Well, that's what I asked you, sir. Why? Shaner. No, I thought, Gordon. Why did you have the... Maybe that's one example of why you wanted the lawyers to contact her, I don't know. Is it? Shaner. Yeah, that would be one example. Gordon. Okay, so the letter that you approved said, "We are writing to clarify certain facts that have been repeatedly misrepresented by you in prior correspondence with the district." Other than what you just said, what were the other misrepresentations? Shaner. I don't recall. Gordon. Wasn't one of them Jeremy Chisholm laughing and rolling his eyes that she commented on? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. And another was you mentioning spending taxpayer money. Those were the things that... there's documentation on this. Shaner. Taxpayer money, I don't know what document you are speaking of, and I don't know in what respect taxpayer money. Gordon. Okay, you also seemed... The letter from the lawyers also is scolding Ms. Redacted for not getting on the phone with Ms. Grain but preferring to communicate in email. Do you remember that? Shaner. No, I don't recall that. Gordon. Well, that's what the letter says. You did not, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. You did not call Ms. Grain but, instead, replied a few minutes later in an email. Shaner. Yeah, so that refers to, I can speak to that. That refers to trying to get a hold of her and then, almost while you're leaving a message, her emailing back, and just trying to have a conversation and build a relationship. Gordon. Well, there's nothing wrong with a parent wanting to communicate with the district by email, is there? Shaner. There are times we prefer to talk to people in person. Gordon. Well, you may, sir, but they may not prefer to talk to you in person. They may want to have a written document, correct? Shaner. I guess that's possible. Gilliam. Object to form, foundation. Gordon. There's nothing illegal about that, is there? Shaner. No. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. And then the lawyer's letter goes on to further scold Ms. Redacted, saying that she hung up the phone on Ms. Grain and that the district did not perceive that to be an effort to build a healthy relationship. Why are you having a law firm write this kind of a letter to a parent? I don't see anything in here. Well, strike that. I will retract my question. You are spending taxpayer money to scold somebody for hanging up on Ms. Grain. That's not a legal issue, is it, Dr. Shaner? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. No, I don't feel like that's scolding anyone. Gordon. Okay, well, what then? Get rid of the word scolding. You are spending taxpayer money to have a law firm write to a parent to tell her that she hung up the phone on Lori Grain, and that was not perceived by the district to be an effort to build a healthy relationship. Shaner. Yeah, I don't know the entire context of that, so I can't speak to it. Gordon. Okay, I didn't ask you that. I'm asking you why you are paying lawyers to tell a parent that she's not building a healthy relationship. Is that not an abuse of taxpayer dollars and just your own particular grudge you have with a parent to get a lawyer involved with this? Shaner. Yeah, I don't have a grudge, Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. First of all, I would welcome a conversation with her today if she would offer one. So I don't have a, Gordon. That's not, Shaner. Yeah, so I don't have a grudge, but, Gordon. Well, that's not my point, though. My point is, Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. You are spending taxpayer money to have lawyers talk to a parent about whether her relationship is healthy, and there is no legal issue there, is there? Gilliam. Same objection as earlier. Shaner. Again, I don't know the context of that entire interaction, Gordon. Sir, I'll be happy to, Shaner. So I can't really speak to that. Gordon. I will be happy to tell you about the context. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. You have Collins and Blaha on an hourly fee basis, and they have written a 4-page letter to a parent, Shaner, Gordon. Threatening her and telling her, I'll tell you how the letter that you participated in drafting as superintendent, Shaner, Gordon. Telling her that you're going to take all measures necessary to protect your legal rights. Do you remember that? Shaner. I don't remember it, but I hear you. Gordon. Okay. And so part of this letter, sir, is you're explaining to Redacted, or your lawyers are, that you don't think she's got a healthy relationship. I'm just trying to figure out how that ends up in a letter to a parent that you approved. Shaner. Well, I think, again, now that you give me that context, it's, again, misrepresentations of things that are not accurate. I'm really trying to forge forward and build a relationship with her and, Gordon. You think you're going to, I'm sorry. Gilliam. Let him answer, Ms. Gordon. Thank you. Gordon. Go ahead. You're trying to do what? Shaner. I didn't hear, John, I'm sorry. Gilliam. I just was saying, hang on, please let him finish. Go ahead, Dr. Shaner. Gordon. You were trying to do what? Shaner. Again, in the context of that, so often the facts are misrepresented, we wanted to make sure that we did protect our ability to take legal action if necessary. But, again, it's also not a way to try to begin to build a rapport or a connection, or to at least talk on the phone. This is a person that wrote, Gordon. You think that what, Shaner? This is a person that routinely will not respond, sets meetings and then cancels them over and over again. Gordon. So you think the way to deal with that, as the superintendent of a school district, is to hire a law firm to write her a threatening letter and suggest that the district is going to take legal action against her? Shaner. I think it's my duty to protect the legal liability of the school district. Gordon. What is the legal liability here that you were protecting? Shaner. Again, Gilliam. Object to form, calls for a legal conclusion. He's not an attorney. Gordon. It's his term, not mine. He's sending this letter to protect the legal liability, so I want to know what he's referring to. Gordon. Go ahead. Shaner. Again, she's a person that misrepresents the facts of things routinely. Gordon. Well, a lot of people do that, don't they, sir? That's, Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Common. That's very common, isn't it? People misrepresent or they don't remember. That's happened to you here today many, many times. Gilliam. Objection. Argumentative. Gordon. So that's worthy of paying lawyers to write somebody a letter, because you think they are misrepresenting the facts? Gilliam. Objection. Asked and answered. Gordon. I'll take an answer. What's the legal issue here? That's what I want to know. Shaner. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I did that in conjunction with our counsel. Gordon. You say here, the district is prepared to defend itself to the fullest extent of the law from any false public statements that cause it injury and will, if necessary, make full use of its available legal and equitable remedies. Okay. Now, what were you directing this to with regard to what Ms. Redacted did? Shaner. Again, it was a long history of misrepresentations of facts. Gordon. Well, can you give me any others than the one that you gave me? She hung up on her? Shaner. Yeah, I can give you an example of, Gordon. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shaner. And, again, I'm not a lawyer but, you know, the representation that we're not responding to her Facebook page when, in fact, I was thrown off of it. Gordon. So you are going to sue her over that? Shaner. I didn't say I was going to sue her. Gordon. I'm asking for examples of what you are literally threatening her here, Shaner. No, Gordon. And legally, and I'm, Shaner. No. Gordon. Hang on. Let me, Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. Finish, please. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. And I wanted examples. I wanted to know why you were threatening this parent, and you said because of all these misrepresentations she makes. Shaner. Yeah, I don't see them as a threat. Gordon. Okay, well, I am not asking your opinion of that, but I'm, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Asking. I said what I said, and I wanted to know what the misrepresentations were, and so what else? Shaner. I don't recall. There have been many of them. Gordon. At the time you had Collins and Blaha send this letter to Ms. Redacted, did you know she was not the author of the email that you were so upset about? Shaner. I still don't know if she had authored it or not. She still could have. I don't know. Gordon. And then Ms. Redacted contacted the board about your Collins and Blaha letter, correct? Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. Okay, well, I will read it to you. It's from December 14, 2020. It's to the board. Dear BO members, I just wanted to forward you this somewhat unusual email I received from the district lawyers in advance of my presentation to the Board of Education tonight, indicating that the district will, quote, defend itself to the fullest extent of the law from any false public statements that cause injury, close quote. I responded to Mr. Chisholm, but I also wanted to assure you that my goal tonight is not to harm the district's reputation or spread falsehoods. I'm going to recap what happened, using the public police report as my guide. Do you remember that? Shaner. Do I remember that? Gordon. Ms. Redacted, Shaner. That letter? Gordon. Yes, Shaner. No, I don't specifically remember that letter. Gordon. Okay, so Ms. Redacted was very upset and was letting the board know that taxpayer dollars had been spent by you to send her this letter which accuses her of many things, and did she? And she is saying that this is all in advance of her attending the board meeting that night. Do you recall that? Shaner. I don't recall the letter that she sent to the board. Gordon. You have a very difficult time dealing with criticism, don't you? Shaner. No, not at all. Gilliam. Objection to form. Shaner. Actually, I invite it. Gordon. You invite it? Shaner. Gordon. Sir, you've sent many cease and desist letters out to parents, haven't you? Shaner. What's that? Gordon. You invite it, but you are very threatening to people who have challenged you. I have other cease and desist letters you've had taxpayers pay to have your lawyers send out, correct? Shaner. I have sent, Gilliam, object to form. Shaner. Other letters. I have sent other letters to people, Gordon. Yes, you have. You're very upset about things like, you've been made aware that you have publicly and falsely suggested that a board member may be engaged in an ongoing financial conflict of interest. Isn't that the job of the public to point out something if they think a board member may be involved in a conflict of interest? Gilliam. Object to foundation. Go ahead, Shaner. Again, I'm not sure of the context of that, so I can't answer it. Gordon. Why? Do you have so many of these letters sent out that you can't remember the context? I mean, I told you the context. You're sending a letter out, you're having your lawyer send a letter out, and, again, a lengthy cease. You are calling it, cease and desist allegations and insinuations. Shaner. Right. Gordon. This is a multi-page letter and you are sending this to redacted and you are upset that he has falsely suggested that a member may be engaged in an ongoing financial conflict of interest. What is wrong with a member of the public saying a board member may be involved in a conflict of interest? What is wrong with that? Shaner. I think, in that circumstance, if I'm remembering the right one, that he knowingly knew that wasn't the case. Gordon. Well, whether he did or not, sir, you're the government, aren't you, the district? Shaner. I'm the superintendent of Rochester Community Schools. Gordon. The district and the board are the government, aren't they? Shaner. I'm the superintendent of Rochester Community Schools. Gordon. I heard that, and I already knew that. And the district is a governmental entity, isn't it? It's a public school district, correct? Shaner. It's a municipal corporation. Gordon. Fine. It's a government, right? Shaner. It's a municipal corporation. Gordon. Okay. Wow. You are not willing to sit here and say, are you willing to say a municipal corporation is a governmental entity? Shaner. Oh, I'd say that. Gordon. Okay, good. So you're the government, and a parent or a community member is saying somebody might have a financial conflict of interest, and you think the government can come after a citizen for saying such a thing? That's your belief? Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Is that your belief, sir? Shaner. No, my belief is that I have a right to have our legal counsel help us respond to these things. Gordon. Well, it's not a response, sir. It's a threat. Shaner. I don't take it that way. Gordon. It's a cease and desist letter. It's a cease and desist letter. You think you can send Joe Biden a cease and desist letter, or Governor Whitmer, because you don't like something she says that might be false? Shaner. I'll tell you, she probably wouldn't respond. Gordon. You think that she can send letters out to the public? You wrote a letter to the Free Press today, Mr. Member of the Public, and you misrepresented what I said, and I'm coming after you legally. Do you think the governor of the state can do that? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't know. Gilliam. Argumentative. Shaner. Yeah, I don't know what the governor can and cannot do. Gordon. So you didn't get any legal advice, before sending these letters, that citizens have a right to free speech and that, as the government, you cannot be threatening people for using speech? Nobody ever told you that? Shaner. Again, we issued those letters and, Gordon, I knew that. But you didn't answer my question. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. Nobody ever advised you that citizens have a right to free speech with regard to the government? Shaner. Advised me in terms of what, ma'am? Gordon. Before you sent out cease and desist letters to people threatening them with legal action, nobody ever said, Shaner. Yeah, I don't think, Gordon. To you, nobody ever said to you, hey, wait a minute. This, Shaner. Gordon, is the, I'm talking. Shaner. I'm sorry. Gordon. This is the public, these are citizens, they pay your salary, they are allowed to comment, they are even probably allowed to say you are a liar if you're not. Nobody ever told you about free speech before you wasted taxpayer money on these letters? Shaner. Again, Gilliam, object to form. Shaner. Would defer that we did that under the advice of our counsel. Gordon. I'm not asking about counsel. I'm asking you as the boss, the man that made the decisions. Shaner. Gordon. I will ask it this way, then. Did you consider the free speech of the public? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And then you discarded it, correct? Shaner. No. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Okay, so here now I've got my letter of redacted of January 14, 2021. Let's go through this for a second. This is. Additionally, you have electronically contacted board members' employers with your personal blog where you express your displeasure with board members. What's wrong with a citizen contacting employers of board members? Shaner. Okay, I'm not aware of the contents of that letter. That was a week and a half after my son's funeral. Gordon. I understand that, sir, but you are the superintendent and somebody did this under your authority, and just as you sent out other cease and desist letters and you were aware Mr. Redacted, at some point you were aware he was getting a letter, weren't you? Shaner. That letter, I don't recall if I was aware he was getting that one or not. Gordon. The letter ends, "You are advised to cease and desist from making false statements and insinuations about the district and the board." I will stop right there. Under what legal authority can you stop a citizen from making insinuations about the district and the board, that you are aware of? Gilliam. Object to form, calls for a legal conclusion. Go ahead, Shaner. Again, I'm not a lawyer. We wrote those letters in conjunction with our legal counsel. Gordon. Maybe you got bad legal advice. Gilliam. Objection, argumentative. Gordon. Okay. Then, on January 14, Elena Dinverno got a cease and desist letter from Collins and Blaha. Did you become aware of that or did you know at the time? Shaner. No, I didn't know it at the time. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. And your law firm, which is on this call right now, on the Zoom Dep. And I've said before that I believe Collins and Blaha will probably be witnesses at other Deps. So my client is advised to cease and desist all false statements about the district? Shaner. Gordon. What law would allow a school board to sue an individual for making false statements about a school district? Do you know of any? Gilliam. Object to form, calls for legal conclusion. Go ahead, Shaner. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. Gordon. So what was my client being criticized for? Let's cover this. Do you remember? Shaner. Ma'am, again, it was 12 days after the horrific death of my son. No, I don't remember. Gordon. Okay, well, are you telling me that you did not approve these letters going out and it was just Debbie Fragomeni that approved these? Shaner. I don't recall. Gordon. Okay, Shaner. It was 12 days after I found my son with a bullet hole in his head. Gordon. I heard that, and I've already said, I've offered my condolences to you. Shaner. Yeah, please don't. Gordon. Please don't? Okay. Well, you raised it, so I'm sorry. Shaner. Very, very painful. I can't even describe the pain that I feel every day when I get out of bed. Gordon. I hear you. In any event, it's very possible these letters were drafted before that horrific incident occurred, I don't know, but I assume you had a hand in making a decision to send a lawyer's letter to my client. Am I correct? Shaner. No, Gordon. So did you talk to Ms. Fragomeni about this at some point? Shaner. I have no idea if I talked to her or I didn't. I don't recall. I can tell you that the operational pace of what was going on at that time, people were doing the best they could in the circumstances we were in. Gordon. Okay, so I'm going to hone in on this letter, because this letter is extremely critical of Elena Dinverno for stating publicly that a member of the board contacted her employer. This is in our lawsuit. Are you familiar with this allegation? Shaner. Yep. Gordon. Okay, at the time this letter was sent, sir, it was, Debbie Fragomeni was CC'd on this letter. Debbie Fragomeni knew full well that she had been the person that had called Elena Dinverno's employer. We know that now, don't we? Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. I've covered this with you earlier in the Dep, correct? Shaner. You covered it. Gordon. Right. And we know that in December, Kristen Bull says she was, excuse me. Kristen Bull testified under oath she was told in December by you that Fragomeni was contacting Blake's. So here I have a cease and desist letter going out to my client, telling her she's a liar for saying that somebody from the board contacted her employer, when you knew full well and Fragomeni knew full well her employer was contacted but it was by your office, not the board, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't recall that. Gordon. And this letter is basically perpetuating a cover-up and a lie. You knew her employer had been contacted, now you are having lawyers threaten her because she was told by her employer that a board member had called, and you knew exactly what had happened, and you allowed this to occur. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Why? Why would you allow the record to not be corrected? Contact Ms. Dinverno and say, yes, we realize you were contacted by your employer was contacted by the assistant superintendent. We apologize. Why did the district not do that? Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. I'll take an answer. Shaner. I'm not sure what I'm answering, honestly. Gordon. Here's what you are answering, sir. You The district hired lawyers to tell my client she was lying when she said her employer was contacted by the board. Her employer was contacted by your office. She got the name wrong. She didn't. Blake's got the name wrong. Blake's told her it was the board. And you sick lawyers on her, and nobody calls her and says, "Hey, Elena, you know, your employer was contacted by the district, but it wasn't the board." You didn't do that. Instead you threaten this woman. Why did somebody not tell her the truth? Gilliam. Object to form, also assumes facts not in evidence. Go ahead. Gordon. I'll take an answer to my question. Shaner. I'm not sure how to answer that. Gordon. Well, it's a straightforward question. You wanted a cover-up. The district wanted a cover-up. Otherwise, Elena Dinverno would have been told very promptly, "Hey, you know, you are basically right, but don't accuse Kristen Bull." It was actually the assistant superintendent. You had that information, Fragomeni had that information, she's on this letter, and you never directed her ever, tell the parent the truth. You did contact her employer, and let's be done with this. You intentionally didn't do that, right? Shaner. No. Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Well, it has to be intentionally, sir. Shaner. No. Gordon. Then, Gilliam. Ms. Gordon, excuse me. You keep saying, you, and I think it's confusing for the record, because you may be referring to the school district or you may be referring to Dr. Shaner. But Dr. Shaner has already testified he had no knowledge of this letter, so if you could clear that up. Gordon. I don't believe he has no knowledge, and I don't think he testified to that. But it doesn't matter to me, because he's the superintendent and I've got the letter here and it's in front of me and it's issued by the district lawyers on behalf of the district. Gilliam. Okay, I would just ask if you're, because sometimes you refer to Mr. or Dr. Shaner individually and then sometimes you refer to the board, so I guess, Gordon, I take your point. I take your point. Gilliam. For clarity purposes on the record. Gordon. Okay, all right. Gilliam. Thank you. Gordon. And then, hang on 1 second please. And then we file a lawsuit, Dr. Shaner, and in the lawsuit we say that Kristen Bull contacted Elena Dinverno's employer. Shaner. Gordon. And you saw that in the news articles, didn't you, because you said you read them, right? Shaner. Gordon. And before I go further, I'm going to take a step back here with regard to the letters and Mr. and John's point to me. Just to let you know, Dr. Debbie Fragomeni testified under oath that you approved these letters, even though you were out. Is she wrong? Shaner. No, I will take responsibility for them. Gordon. Okay, all right. So now this is the letter to my client telling her she's being threatened because she continues to say a board member contacted her employer threatening that she's going to be sued and to cease and desist. You do nothing. You direct nobody to do anything, and you allow this lie to be perpetuated, that Elena Dinverno is making false statements. Now, sir, in May a lawsuit comes, okay, 5 months later after you threaten my client, you put your lawyers on her. Now the lawsuit comes and the lawsuit says Kristen Bull contacted Blake's about Elena Dinverno's social media posts. And you read that in the paper, correct? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Okay. And you knew, at the very time you read this, that it was Debbie, that, in fact, Elena Dinverno's employer had been contacted by the district, right? Gilliam. Object to form, Shaner. No, I think I said no. Gilliam. It assumes facts not in evidence. Gordon. I'll take an answer. Shaner. I thought I answered. Gordon. We've already covered this, Dr. Shaner. We know in December that you knew this. This is now May. You talked to Bull about it. I've got her text messages with the board. Shaner. Yeah, my answer to your question is no. Gordon. I don't want to revisit all this again unless I have to, but the fact is you knew that Dinverno's employer had been contacted by Fragomeni. You've already said that here today, right? Gilliam. Objection, Shaner. No, Gilliam, asked and answered. Gordon. Do I have to go through this all again, or do you agree that your assistant superintendent had contacted Blake's about Elena Dinverno? We spent quite a bit of time on it earlier. Shaner. Well, procedurally, I'm sorry. I got distracted. So, John objected. What do I do now? Gilliam. You can answer. Shaner. Okay, I think the answer, Gilliam. Unless I tell you not to answer, you can answer. Gordon. I'll start all over again. Shaner. Okay, no, I can answer. Gordon. No, I'm going to retract my question. There's a lot of crosstalk going on here with counsel and so on. You now read an article in the newspaper on May 4th. You know you are sued yourself and the district is sued, and the allegation is that the board, the president of the board, contacted Blake's to get my client fired, and my client was fired from Blake's. You don't correct the record publicly, you don't go to the public, you don't say, a lawsuit has been filed. It was actually my office that contacted Blake's, not Kristen Bull. Why not? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Yeah, again, I would defer to the advice we got from our legal counsel, and the answer to your question is no. I said, I testified earlier that I found out that Debbie contacted and talked to Sandra Blake. That was my testimony. Gordon. Right. And you knew my client got fired. Shaner. No, that was. I think I testified that I found that out after the fact. Gordon. Okay, well, in any event, you found it out by the time this lawsuit was filed, and Kristen Bull told you she never contacted them. So when did you learn Fragameni actually talked to Marty Blake? Shaner. I have no knowledge that Fragameni talked to Marty Blake. Gordon. Are you aware she strolled right into her deposition and told us the whole story, and Marty, as Marty Blake did? Do you know that? Shaner. That became. No, I don't know that, but I still, Gordon, all right. So then, all right. So then let's cover it this way. You've got an assistant superintendent who reports directly to you. Shaner. Gordon. She knows she talked to Marty Blake, and she knows that Blake's then fired Elena. She sees this lawsuit and this media coverage come out. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. She doesn't come to you. Let's just go with your theory that you didn't know. You thought she just talked to Marty Blake's wife. Shaner. Gordon. Let's just go with that. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. And Fragameni does not come into you and say, listen, this lawsuit says that Kristen Bull called. I think let's talk about the fact that I talked to Marty Blake. You never had that conversation with Fragameni? Shaner. No, Gordon. Well, don't you think that's rather a major dishonest thing for her to have done if you are correct and she never told you she talked to Marty Blake? She's allowing Kristen Bull to be named in litigation when she was the one on the phone with Marty Blake. Is that not of concern to you, sir? Gilliam. Object to form. Go ahead. Shaner. I believe Debbie Fragameni was doing what she thought she could do to protect children. Gordon. Can you now answer my question, please, instead of one of your talking points? Do you remember the question? Shaner. No, I'm not concerned about, Gilliam. I think there were, Shaner. I'm not, Gilliam. I think there were a couple of questions. Gordon. So you are not concerned that Debbie Fragameni allowed a federal lawsuit to be filed to let the public believe that Kristen Bull had called Blake's when it was actually her? 12 Gilliam. Object to form as to the word allowed. Shaner. I'm always concerned when the district gets sued. Gordon. But you're very upset about people misrepresenting things, so much so that you have your lawyers send letters when somebody misrepresents something about the district. Shaner. Gordon. You have cease and desist letters sent out. We spent a lot of time today with you describing instances to me where parents, according to you, misrepresented things you had said or done, and you sent nasty letters. And now your very own assistant superintendent allows a lie to be perpetrated in a federal court proceeding, and you don't think that's an issue. Do I have that right? Gilliam. Object to form. Go ahead. Shaner. Again, I'm always concerned when the district gets sued. Gordon. But you know what? That was not an answer to my question. If I need to, I will go get a court order to get an actual answer from you, or you can have the chance now to do it. Shaner. I think I did answer, but I'll be more specific. I'm always concerned. Gordon. So what, have you mentioned to Debbie Fragameni that she made a huge mistake here? Because according to you, not that this is necessarily the case, but according to you, you didn't know any of this. You didn't know she talked to Marty Blake. So have you gone back to her and said, wow, I can't believe you did this, or something to that effect? Gilliam. Object to form, argumentative. Go ahead. Shaner. Like I said, I'm always concerned. Gordon. Okay, that's not an answer. Alright, I'm going to take a 15-minute lunch break. Is that okay with everybody? Gilliam. Dr. Shaner, is that sufficient for you? Gordon. Do you need more time? Because if you need more time, Shaner, well, Gordon, go ahead. Gilliam. I mean, yeah, if we're breaking for lunch as opposed to just a normal break, 15, then I would say yes, more time for lunch would be preferable. Gordon. A half hour? Shaner. What time do we envision this being till? Gordon. Under the law, it's 7 hours on the record. Gilliam. Do you have any sense how much longer you have? Shaner. Yeah, I'm not picking. I'm just trying to plan. Gordon. Yeah, I understand. Maybe an hour and a half or so, 2 hours. It's gone slower than I expected. You know, it's been difficult at points to, keep covering things, so it is what it is. That's my guess. So would you like to take about a half hour? Gilliam. Dr. Shaner, can you grab some lunch by then? Shaner. That's fine. Gilliam. Okay, that works. Court reporter. Off the record at 12:59 p.m. Back on the record at 1:37 p.m. Gordon. Okay. Dr. Shaner, you're familiar with redacted, apparent? Shaner. Rings a faint bell. Gordon. Do you remember him contacting you after you sent your email out or an email about a threat to the school? Shaner. I don't. Like I said, it rings a faint bell. Gordon. Do you remember hanging up on him? Shaner. I have no recollection of that. Gordon. You don't remember this redacted, who you got a letter from the ACLU of Michigan about, Shaner. Like I said, Gordon, protecting his rights? Shaner. Yeah, I think it rings a faint bell. Like I said, I'm not sure. Gordon. It rings a faint bell? Shaner. Yeah, I'm not sure what the issue was with him. I don't remember. Gordon. So do you remember getting the letter from the ACLU of Michigan? Shaner. Regarding redacted? Gordon. Yeah. Shaner. No, I don't. Gordon. Okay, so it's August 18, 2020. Shaner. Gordon. Dear Superintendent Shaner, we are writing on behalf of Redacted, who Rochester Community Schools summarily banned from entering the school property and attending off-campus events. Based on what we have learned, it appears that the school district's action was taken in retaliation for Mr. Redacted's speech and threat to sue you or the school district. As such action violates the First Amendment, we request that you rescind Mr. Redacted banishment immediately. So you only have a faint recollection about this, Dr. Shaner? Shaner. Oh, that helps. Thank you. There was a custody issue with Mr. Redacted, with their daughter's mother and Mr. Redacted and his behavior on campus. Gordon. Well, the point is that he was apparently banned. Why was that? Shaner. Yeah, actually, I think he was issued a trespassing letter because of his behavior on campus at one of our middle schools in dealing with this sad affair. Gordon. Who issued a no trespassing order? Shaner. It would be pretty routine for me to sign that. Gordon. How many no trespassing orders have you signed approximately, or do you sign, in any given year? Shaner. 2 or 3, depending on different custody issues. Gordon. What do you mean, custody issues? In what way would you be able to issue a no trespassing order? Would you need a court order from the family court saying that the parent was not allowed on school property? Shaner. I don't know the procedure of that. The sheriff's department needed us to issue a trespassing order in order to keep him off property, because he was being disruptive with the staff. Gordon. Well, did you issue a no trespassing order to Redacted? Shaner. Yeah, I signed it, I guess. Gordon. Well, are you guessing, or did you do it? Shaner. It would be the normal course of events for me to be the person that signs it. Gordon. I didn't ask, I'm not interested in that part of it. I'm interested in, was a no trespass order issued or, Shaner. Yeah, actually, I think he ended up getting arrested for trespassing one time or got a ticket for it. Gordon. Okay, that wasn't my question to you. I wanted to know if there was a no trespass order that was issued to him or it was some other kind of a ban. Shaner. No, it was a trespassing letter. Gordon. From you? Shaner. I'm sure it was. Gordon. So were you aware that Mr. Redacted shared custody of his daughter with the mother? Shaner. It's been a very long custody problem between the two of them. Gordon. I didn't ask you that, sir. I had a very specific question. This is why the dep, I think, may be taking longer. Shaner. Yeah, I'm not certain of the specifics of the custody agreement. Gordon. Okay, well, isn't it important for you to know whether or not somebody has custody of a child that they're coming up on the school property to see? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. Okay, so did you respond to this letter from the ACLU telling, Shaner? I don't, Gordon. Hang on a second, please. Shaner. Sorry. Gordon. Telling you that Mr. Redacted had a right to be on the school property and that the theory here was that he was banished from the school because he used his speech to express concerns about the school? Do you recall that? Shaner. Again, Mr. Redacted, Gilliam, objection, asked and answered. Shaner. Mr. Redacted was, yes, I do recall that. Gordon. So, for what reason was he banned from the school property? Shaner. Again, Mr. Redacted had displayed some behavior on campus that was of a nature that caused people serious concern. Gordon. What was it? Shaner. Disorderly behavior. Gordon. What was that? I don't know what you mean. Shaner. Yelling and screaming, calling people names. Gordon. Who did he yell and scream at and call names? Shaner. The school staff. Gordon. Well, what happened exactly? Shaner. I don't know specifically. Gordon. Well, you must have some idea, sir. Shaner. Let me restate that. I don't recall. Sorry. Gordon. What happened after you got this letter from the ACLU? What did you do with the letter? Shaner. I'm not sure what happened with that letter because we've had a long relationship with Mr. Redacted. We go back and forth and try to keep him involved in his daughter's education. So I'm not sure what. Gordon. Well, that's not really. I'm sorry, go ahead. Shaner. Yeah, I'm not sure if we responded to it or not. Gordon. I mean, it's not really your job to keep anybody involved in their children's education, is it? Shaner. No, but it's my job to keep the staff safe and the students and the school safe. Gordon. Well, were the police ever called on Mr. Redacted? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Who called the police? Shaner. The school staff. We have liaison officers. Gordon. Okay, so I want to know whether you or somebody on your behalf responded to this letter from the ACLU. Shaner. Yeah, I don't recall. Gilliam. Objection, asked and answered. Gordon. You don't recall? Shaner. No, Gordon. As I understand it, you issued a letter to him on December 10th, is that correct, for the school district? Shaner. December 10th when, ma'am? Gordon. 2018. Shaner. Yeah, I'll take responsibility for that. Gilliam. Is there, Ms. Gordon, could we ask you to publish these letters that you are referring to? Gordon. I don't have the December 10th letter, and I will just show you the ACLU letter. It's right here. I can send you a copy. Gilliam. Well, I think you have capability for Zoom, correct? You've used Zoom for exhibits in the past. Gordon. I'm not marking it. I just asked him if he got the letter. If you need a copy, Shaner, it's possible we did respond to it. I just don't remember. Gordon. Okay, Shaner. It's possible that I spoke to him on the phone. I don't remember. We've tried really hard to keep Mr. Redacted involved in his daughter's education. Gordon. Yeah, you said that. You already said that. Are you aware that another parent believes his employer was called by someone from the district in March of 2021? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Do you know Mr. Redacted? Shaner. I don't know him. Gordon. Do you know who he is? Shaner. I know of him. Gordon. How do you know of him? Shaner. From numerous people in the community sent me Facebook posts that he put out. Gordon. What were the Facebook posts about? Shaner. The nature of the Facebook posts, they were aggressive and they mentioned that people should go to people's homes and protest. Gordon. I don't know what you mean, I'm sorry. Aggressive in what regard? Recommending people protest. Shaner. His language. I mean, I took his language as aggressive, concerning. Gordon. Can you give me an example? Shaner. I don't remember exactly what the post was, besides the nature that it, Gordon. And who brought that to your attention? Shaner. Multiple people in the community. Gordon. Okay, he's a police officer, is that correct? Shaner. In the city of Detroit. Gordon. And you knew that, correct? Shaner. I found that out as I looked into this. Gordon. What did you look into? Shaner. Just looked at the posts, looked at the nature of it, tried to find out who I was dealing with. Gordon. Okay, and why did you do that? Shaner. Because I was concerned and scared. Gordon. About what? Shaner. About the nature of the Facebook post. Gordon. Well, what was it about it? I didn't get anything other than he was recommending a protest. Shaner. In front of people's homes. He was talking about putting pressure on people in their personal lives. Gordon. Okay. By going to their homes or something else? Shaner. Yeah, I think the nature of it was to go to people's homes. Gordon. Okay. Is there something illegal about that, with regard to public officials, publicly elected officials? Shaner. I don't know what. Gordon. Hang on a second. Gordon. I didn't hear you, John, if you had an objection. Gilliam. I had an objection as to what's legal and what's not legal. Gordon. Okay, there is nothing illegal that you're aware of protesting in front of the home of an elected official, am I correct on that? Gilliam. Object to form. Gordon. Unless you are on the person's property. Is that correct? Shaner. Sure, yes, sorry. Gordon. Okay. So, did you look into his concern that his employer, that the Detroit Police Department had been contacted and that he had been told that by his supervisor? Shaner. Yeah, I contacted them. Gordon. Okay, and you contacted the Detroit PD? Shaner. I did. Gordon. Who did you contact? Shaner. I called downtown, and I think I talked to an assistant chief. Gordon. Okay, and what did you discuss? Shaner. I said I was concerned about his behavior and, from his Facebook post, what he does for a living with the department. Gordon. Okay, and you explained, obviously, who you were, superintendent of schools, I assume, and why you were calling. Shaner. I did. Gordon. And did you get? Shaner. I think it concerned. Gordon. Go ahead. Shaner. I'm sorry, go ahead. Gordon. You were going to say something about a concern you had. Shaner. No, that's all right. I'll get to it. Gordon. Okay, and what kind of response did you get from the PD? Shaner. The assistant chief said she would look into it and contact their legal counsel. Gordon. I'm sorry, you contacted, Shaner. No, she responded to me that she would look into it and that she would contact legal counsel. She knew him by name. She called him redacted. Gordon. Okay, and what is the next thing that you heard about it or learned? Shaner. The next thing I heard about it, from follow-up back from her saying that they'd addressed it. Gordon. Okay, and did his social media posting change? Shaner. I don't recall if it changed or not. I assume it did. Gordon. Do you know a parent named Redacted? Shaner. Yes, I do. Gordon. And you've had some interaction with her with regard to some of the same situations we've been discussing today? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I've had multiple interactions with her, or lack thereof. Gordon. Okay, and what's the issue with her, from your end of it? Shaner. Depends. It's a myriad of concerns that she raises. Gordon. Such as what? Shaner. Oh, anything from mask mandates, the COVID protocols. I think, most recently, she's concerned about the administration building that we bought. Gordon. What's her concern there, as you understand it? Shaner. I think two concerns. I think the building that we're in they consider it historic, and the building that we purchased that's newer is not needed. Gordon. And she raised this at a board meeting, is that correct? Shaner. Say that again? Gordon. She addressed this at a board meeting, is that correct? Shaner. Oh, she's been at multiple board meetings, and I think she's on the agenda for Monday night. Gordon. Do you remember telling her at a board meeting that you thought she had an integrity problem? Shaner. That wasn't at a board meeting. Gordon. Where was that? Shaner. That was at the public library. Gordon. What was going on there? Shaner. We had a request from the community to have a community meeting, a dialogue, and so we did, and we had 5 people attend. Gordon. And so it was at that meeting that you made that comment? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. And what were you referring to there? Shaner. Again, we, multiple times to try to set up meetings with her where she either commits and doesn't show or doesn't commit to it. Multiple times of emails back and forth where we leave a meeting thinking that we've got the facts straight and that she understands, and she indicates that she understands and then represents them differently in the community. Her integrity issue that she was talking about in that meeting was my director of business finance asked for a meeting with her on the phone. They connected by phone finally, and then she was complaining about Lori Grain. Lori Grain happened to walk past his office, and he said, "Well, you and Lori Grain can talk this out." And then she immediately said she had a disability and that she couldn't speak on the phone at that time because she had a hearing disability. And then a few days later, she asked for a conference call. Let me make sure that I got this right. She said she couldn't speak to more than 2 people on the phone at a time, being herself and one other person, so she had to end the call. And then she requested a conference call with 5 people later on that week. Gordon. And that was something you became aware of? Shaner. Yeah, Matt told me about that. Gordon. Who did? I'm sorry. Shaner. Matt McDaniel. Gordon. Who is Matt Daniel, sick? Shaner. Matt McDaniel, he's my director of business and finance. Gordon. So that's when you told her she had an integrity problem? Shaner. No, it was in a meeting at the public library. Gordon. What was the integrity problem you were referencing? Shaner. Again, she referred to that. She indicated she couldn't talk on the phone with 2 people, and then she requested a conference call with 5 people. We have multiple incidents with her where she misrepresents something that was said to her directly. We continue to try, though. We hope to repair that relationship. We continue to try. Gordon. And you made a comment at that meeting about how she didn't have a job, is that correct? Shaner. No, I referred to in that meeting that she said her job was advocating. I got upset. I got really upset at that meeting, and, it might have come off differently, but I didn't mean she didn't have a job. I meant that her job wasn't what she said her job was. Gordon. Am I correct that you have somewhat of a temper? Shaner. No, Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. No, Gordon. You don't have a temper? Shaner. No, I'm incredibly wounded. I've been incredibly wounded for the, Gordon. Okay, I'm not talking, sir, I'm talking about in general. I'm not talking today. Shaner. No, I don't have it. Gordon. These events go back to, I believe, 2019 and 2020, so I'm saying throughout your time, you started at this district in 2013. Shaner. Gordon. You've yelled at many people, haven't you, or said Shaner, no. Gordon. Things to them? Shaner. No, Gordon. Do you agree that you have something of a temper? Shaner. No, Gilliam. Object to form, asked and answered. Gordon. Do you remember that? Do you remember that Redacted filed a complaint with the Board of Education alleging that you had violated administration policies and codes of ethics with regard to the way you had talked to her? Shaner. Yeah, I'm aware of it. Gordon. What are you aware of in that regard? Shaner. I'm aware that she thinks that the board has broken a policy or an administrative reg. Gordon. I think she was referring to you, am I incorrect, that you had violated administrative policies? Shaner. Yeah, and she actually, in her latest correspondence, has said that the board violated an administrative reg and a policy, too. Gordon. They violated what policy? Shaner. An administrative regulation, in terms of responding to her complaint. Gordon. Do you remember a parent, or, rather, a resident named Redacted, Shaner? No. Gordon. Made a complaint about school buses sliding off the road on a dirt road and that she posted on RCS Facebook. I don't know who makes decisions on snow days, but they should be fired. Does that ring a bell? Shaner. What's her name again? Gordon. Redacted. Shaner. No, it doesn't ring a bell, I'm sorry. Gordon. And your secretary, is she Christina Whitmore? Shaner. She is. Gordon. She contacted Ms. Redacted and asked her to take her comment down. Is that something that your office does, as ask people to take comments down? Shaner. I don't know. I didn't direct her to do it. Gordon. No, I'm sorry, you called Redacted apparently. Shaner. Yeah, I don't. Gordon. The information I have is that Whitmore called her and asked her to take her comment down. She said she wouldn't, and then you called her, you were angry, you asked her to take down the comment and wanted to know why she was so upset, and you hung up on her. Shaner. No, I don't believe that to be the, Gordon. My, Shaner. Case, and I don't, Gordon. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Shaner. Yeah, I don't remember her, so I can't really speak to that. Gordon. You've hung up on other people, as well, haven't you? Shaner. No, I've been hung up on. Gordon. Why, in December of 2020, did you request of Lori Grain that she provide you with video clips from the board meeting where Mrs. Redacted and Mr. Redacted had addressed the board? Was that in preparation for letters, cease and desist letters, that were being sent, or what was that for? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't recall. Gordon. I have an email from Lori Grain to Jeremy Chisholm, CC to you. It's Defendants Bates 1330. Hi, Jeremy. Dr. Shaner asked that I share the video clips from last evening's board meeting where Mrs. Redacted and Mr. Redacted addressed the board, and then she lists them. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. Why did you do that? Shaner. I don't recall. It's not unusual for us to share footage from the board meeting with legal counsel. Gordon. So, in what circumstances do you do that, then? Shaner. There are all kinds of different circumstances in, Gordon. Well, just give me, Shaner. Sure. Gordon. An example. Shaner. Sure. Sometimes you review it just to see what people's concerns are. Sometimes, in the moment, you don't see it. Sometimes it's to review it and figure out what they're, how you can help them or how you can meet their needs, or more like that. Gordon. But you said legal counsel. Shaner. Gordon. Why would you be reviewing film of people at a public board meeting with legal counsel? Shaner. I don't recall why they did that. Gordon. You had staffers type up what Redacted and others said at board meetings, is that correct? Shaner. I've done that before. Gordon. Why? Shaner. Again, just to make sure we know exactly what was said so we know how to respond. Gordon. Okay, you said, I'm paraphrasing you, I don't remember your exact words, that the district, your office, carefully monitors or closely monitors what people are posting on social media earlier. What do you mean by monitor? Can you explain that? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word. Gordon. What is the right word? Shaner. We're very, try to be very aware and be very responsive to our community, so we want to know what people are, what their concerns are and what their wishes are. Gordon. Well, you have open board meetings, correct? Shaner. Yeah. Gordon. Okay, and what's the procedure at board meetings for people to speak? Shaner. They actually have multiple opportunities to speak at a board meeting. We're very unlike 99% of school districts in our county where, not only can they be put on the agenda, like Mr. Redacted on the agenda. Actually, Mr. Redacted has been on the agenda for the entire year to speak. Yeah. So, generally speaking, what Mr. Redacted will do is he will speak when he's placed on the agenda. Then under our action items, the board asks if the community would like to address any of the action items as we are going through them. So, for example, Mr. Redacted would speak to that at times. Sometimes he uses that as an opportunity to speak before he leaves the meeting, and then there's an opportunity at the end of the meeting to address the board again. Gordon. So, Shaner, he has multiple opportunities. Gordon. So the opportunity at the end of the meeting, you don't have to be on an agenda, you can just get up at that particular point in time and, Shaner. Actually, yeah, the beginning of the meeting, when you are on the agenda, it's pretty loose, too. Gordon. Okay, so people have plenty of opportunities at your board meetings to express their thoughts? Shaner. Gordon. Or ask questions, is that accurate? Shaner. Well, no, the board doesn't answer questions at board meetings. Gordon. Okay, Shaner. they listen to concerns, and they lay that out in their ground rules at the beginning of the meeting. The board president reads it. Gordon. So how do people present questions to be answered? What's the Shaner? Sometimes they will send us a Facebook post, sometimes they will send the board a direct email. When I became superintendent, we adopted a platform called Talk to Us. One of the complaints, when I became superintendent, was that parents never got called back and the board didn't respond and the administration didn't respond to the community. So we put in place a platform called Talk to Us. Quite often, not as much lately, particularly in the last year, as things have been just the operational pace has been so fast, but prior to that it would be not unusual for me to answer Talk to Us's on weekends and evenings to get people answers to questions that they might have. Gordon. Okay. Shaner. So they're not anxious. So we have multiple avenues for people to, Gordon. So you have, people can, what? Text, send you a Facebook message on the district's Facebook page. Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. Okay, and can they email? Do people sometimes email you or board members? Shaner. Yeah, the board. So the board has a direct email that people can email to the board, and that goes in the public record at the meeting. And then we have Talk to Us, which is kind of an administrative channel. And then, now I feel like I'm forgetting something now, I'm sorry. Gordon. Okay, that's all right. And do you have an opportunity to talk to parents outside of the board meeting? Shaner. I talk to parents all the time. It's one of the things I pride myself on, engaging with the community. And certainly conversations don't always go the way you'd like them to, but I pride myself, over the past 9 years, of improving our engagement with the community and making sure people are heard. Gordon. So in that you have all these opportunities to hear what people have to say to you, pro and con, what is the purpose of monitoring private Facebook pages or discussion groups of parents? Shaner. Yeah, it's a great question, actually, and, one of the things that we're finding out through the pandemic is, the more and more pandemic-fatigued people get, they seem to get more insular and not our number of Talk to Us's and emails to the board have going down precipitously and we find ourselves not knowing what's going on in the community. Gordon. Okay, your Talk to Us has gone down, but what about your Facebook interactions? Shaner. Yeah, there's so many other social media outlets for people, so many of them don't even know where to go anymore. They don't realize, for instance, that Rochester Community Schools' Facebook page, foundation page isn't, they get confused is the point. Gordon. Okay, but your office has assigned individuals to very carefully track these Facebook or other groups, social media groups, that are critical of the district, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I would say we monitor multiple Facebook groups that include ones that are critical and ones that aren't. Gordon. What are the ones that aren't? Shaner. There's one called Rochester Cares. Gordon. Okay, Shaner. It's a newer one, I think, that just came up. Gordon. How new? Shaner. Are you looking it up? Gordon. No, I'm not. I'm looking at something else. Sorry. Shaner. No, you're fine. You're fine. Gordon. Something came up in my office. Rochester Cares, that's a newer one? Shaner. Yeah, it's a newer one, Gordon. Okay, what else is out there that's positive? Shaner. I'm not sure off the top of my head. There's so many of them. Gordon. Okay, so, how much time then, if there's so many of them, does it take for staffers to read every single one of these? Shaner. Yeah, sorry. I don't know that they're reading every single one of them. I'm not sure how they go about that. Gordon. Well, what do you think they are doing? What's your understanding? Shaner. I think they keep an eye on it, kind of let people know what the gist of what's going on in the community is. Gordon. And how do they let people know? Shaner. If I'm cruising around the building, I might stop in communications and say, what's going on out there today? Gordon. Something kind of informal? Shaner. Yeah, I think someone might. And then they would say, I don't know, someone is mad about masks. And the latest thing is selections in our library, people are discussing. I'm sure you've heard about the people that don't like certain books. Gordon. Well, it appears to me that Lori, I've taken Lori Grain's deposition, and Amy DeCress has been assigned to literally document everything parents are saying on these Facebook groups that, from what I can see, skew more critically. They are more critical of the district. Are you aware that you have somebody working in your office who is tracking every single post on certain Facebook groups? Shaner. I'm aware that I've got someone monitoring social media. Gordon. Okay, but that really doesn't answer my question. When I asked you that a minute ago, you said they kind of keep an eye on it and that maybe they let you know, if they see you in the hall or something, what people are saying. Shaner. Gordon. So that's what you said, but that's, Shaner, right? Gordon. That's not the way it really works in your office. I can see that you have somebody assigned that looks at virtually every post and then documents the posts, copies them, downloads them or cuts and pastes them. Shaner. Gordon. And circulates them to the board. You must be aware of that? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Amy's got a lot of responsibilities. Gordon. That was not an answer to my question at all. That was just a comment by you. Gordon. Would you read back my question, Lori? Court reporter. The following record was read by the reporter at 2:13 p.m., but that's not the way it really works in your office. I can see that you have somebody assigned that looks at virtually every post and then documents the posts, copies them, downloads them or cuts and pastes them and circulates them to the board. You must be aware of that? Shaner. Yeah, I'm aware that they monitor social media. Gordon. Okay, that's not an answer to my question. Are you aware that they download and or copy and or cut and paste every post? Shaner. No, I'm not aware of that. Gordon. You're not aware that I have well over 150, 200 pages of Ms. DeCress literally copying what parents are saying on social media? Shaner. No, I'm not aware of what you have. Gordon. Why is that being done, Dr. Shaner? Shaner. Again, we monitor social media to know what's going on in the community. Gordon. Yeah, I heard you say that a long time ago, but that, monitoring social media periodically, spending a few minutes here and there, is much different than literally cutting and pasting, hundreds of pages of documents with every single conversation on it. Why is that being done? Gilliam. Object to form, argumentative, asked and answered. Go ahead, Shaner. Again, my answer to that would be that we keep a close eye on what's going on in the community and try to keep a pulse on what's going on out there. Gordon. Okay, so you think that should include your office copying every single post by all community members who are posting critically about the district? That's what you think monitoring is, you keeping records of every single thing that's said? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Again, I think there's a lot of things that we document in the school district, and I'm not sure why they chose to do that or how they are doing it. I certainly didn't direct it. Gordon. Well, how many hours, how many hundreds of hours does it take for somebody to download every single page with multiple social media outlets and, Shaner. Gordon. Hang on, let me finish. And then create copies and circulate them? Gilliam. Object to foundation. Go ahead, Shaner. Yeah, I don't know how many hours it takes. Gordon. Well, have you looked into it? Shaner. No. Gordon. Okay, so, how are all these cut and pastes, page after page after page, what are these used for by you and the board? Gilliam. Object to foundation. Go ahead, Shaner. Again, just to keep us informed of what's going on out there and what's been said in the past. Gordon. And you don't tell your citizens or your community that taxpayer dollars are being used to create a record of every single comment made by an individual, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. We spend a lot of sorry. Gilliam. Go ahead, Shaner. I'll get this by the end of it. Sorry, guys. I apologize. I think we keep records of a lot of different things in the school district. Gordon. That wasn't my question. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. My question was, you do not tell the community that your office is monitoring, has somebody assigned to monitor all of the social media outlets they are on, some of which are private, and then cutting and pasting and downloading every word that's said. You don't tell the community that, do you? Shaner. No, I haven't told the community that. Gordon. In fact, you do this secretly, don't you? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't think there's anything secret about social media, actually. Gordon. Well, I don't think that your office's presence is known on these social media sites, Dr. Shaner. Do you think they are? Gilliam. Object to foundation. Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Are you aware that what's being collected by your office is Facebook, quote, accusation and assumptions, close quote, and not, Shaner. Gordon. Positive comments? All you're doing, your office is doing, is looking for what you and your staff, consider to be accusations and assumptions, and then you are very carefully documenting that. Why are you doing that? Shaner. Again, Gilliam. Objection, asked and answered. At some point, I think we do need to move on from this, Ms. Gordon. It's getting a bit harassing and repetitive. Gordon. I've changed the question. Gilliam. Go ahead, sir. Gordon. So what I'm telling you, Dr. Shaner, to your counsels, in that he's objected, is the document I have, the subject is, accusation and assumptions, okay, Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And it's hundreds of pages. Shaner. Okay, Gordon. So I've now added something to my questions with you, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Which is that your office is tracking what you all call accusation and assumptions. It's from Lori Grain. Amy has done an amazing job documenting information. This was posted on the Parents for In-Person Learning Facebook page. Shaner. Gordon. Attached is a discussion that began about this evening's board meeting but turned into a conversation with accusations and assumptions. And it goes on to discuss some of the things that were discussed, and then I have about 150 pages worth of comments just from, I think, a couple of days. So, I mean, how do you justify spending taxpayer dollars having staff members go to all this trouble to document people griping about what you are doing? Gilliam. Objection to form, asked and answered. Go ahead. Gordon. How do you justify that? Shaner. Again, I take very seriously what people's concerns are in the school district. If I could wave a magic wand and make everybody happy and satisfied, I would, so, Gordon. Well, then why, Shaner? We can't, Gordon. Then why, Gilliam? Hang on, Ms. Gordon. I'd just like you to let him answer your question. Shaner. Yeah, so we don't, I guess maybe I'm a glass is half full kind of guy, you know. When people are happy, I'm glad they're happy, but I'm more concerned about the people that are unhappy. Gordon. But, sir, you haven't contacted any of these people, after reviewing this information, to give them information and provide an opportunity for them to talk to you directly. There's no response from your office to any of these people. What you're doing, Shaner. Yeah, Gordon, hang on. Shaner. I'm sorry, Gordon. You're just, Shaner. I'm not doing it on purpose. Gordon. Documenting. Well, you're documenting things so you can, Shaner. No, I'm not stepping on you on purpose is what I mean. I'm sorry, Gordon. You don't have to apologize to me. I've taken DEPs for many decades. Shaner. I don't do it for a living, so don't mean to be disrespectful. Gordon. You don't need to apologize. Zoom doesn't help, so I never for a moment thought, Shaner, I got you. Gordon. You were being disrespectful. To Shaner. Okay, Gordon. Don't worry about it. But what you are doing is you are not responding to any of these. You sit here and tell me, yeah, you want to see what people are concerned about. You are just trying to document stuff so you can, send your cease and desist letters and so on, as far as I can see in the records I have been presented, correct? Shaner. No, Gilliam. Object to form, argumentative. Gordon. Well, I don't see, Shaner. No, Gordon, go ahead. Shaner. Yeah, so I have contacted some of those folks by phone, many of whom won't take a phone call, and it is important for me to know, if I bump into someone in the community, if I know what their concerns are, that I can try to bring it up or address it or ask them to address it with their principal. So it is important. Gordon. So then you sit down yourself and read all of this, page after page? Shaner. No, Gordon. Have you read some of it? Shaner. When there's a theme in it and there's something I can address, yes. Gordon. Well, what have you addressed that where you've actually addressed something that's in all of these, in this one it's Parents for In-Person Learning Facebook page? Shaner. Well, I would say getting kids back to school, to in-person instruction, is a key one. One of the things that we noticed from, my thinking on that had changed by listening to what people's concerns are, what their concerns about their kids, and, we pushed really, really hard for a school district our size to get back to in-person learning sooner than almost any district in Macomb or Oakland County that's our size. Gordon. Wasn't Oxford, Shaner, with more instructional hours? Gordon. Wasn't Oxford schools back before you were? Shaner. Yeah, Oxford's like a fifth of our size. Gordon. Okay, well, in any event, that's an awfully broad topic. I asked you who of these people you specifically responded to, not whether you responded to the biggest picture item there is, which is, when do we go back into school buildings? I'm talking more specifically. You are reading these pages, and have you ever contacted these parents that are making specific comments? Shaner. Yeah, I don't know which parents you are talking about, so it's hard for me to. Gordon. Well, who have you called in response to reviewing the Facebook or other social media posts? Who have you contacted? Shaner. Redacted. Gordon. Who else? Shaner. Redacted. Gordon. Who else? Shaner. Redacted OT. Gordon. Who else? Shaner. Probably, early on, redacted. Gordon. Who else? Shaner. That's it. That's top of, those are the top people on my list, I would say. I don't have an exhaustive. Gordon. Well, there's, Shaner, list of it. Gordon. There's hundreds of people posting here, sir. You just named the people that seem to always be popping up at board meetings or that we've already discussed. Shaner. Yeah, Gordon. I'm talking about everyday people. Have you, Shaner? Yeah. Gordon. Ever contacted Redacted? Shaner. Well, I'm sure I've tried to contact her. Gordon. What do you mean you've tried to contact her? Is there an email? Shaner. I'm sure I've had conversation with her on the phone at some point throughout the pandemic, based on her concerns. I'm certain of it. When it was, I don't know. Gordon. How would you have talked to her? Shaner. What do you mean how would I have talked to her? On the telephone? Gordon. Yeah, on the phone, by email, what? Shaner. Yeah, on the telephone as normally. Gordon. What did, Shaner? How I contacted people. Gordon. What did you discuss with her? Shaner. I don't remember. I have, as you can see and as I described, I contact a lot of people by the phone, on the phone. Gordon. Have you contacted, Shaner? I actually called an 8-year-old girl last night, because she sent an email about a snow day, and let her know she was getting a snow day, so, Gordon. Well, I'm talking about, crosstalk. Shaner. 2. Gordon. Okay, I was talking about parents, sir, that were complaining about, Shaner, I understand. Gordon. The district, Shaner. I understand. Gordon. So that's what I want to know. Are there any other names you can think of where, Shaner, not off the top of my head? Gordon. Okay, you are talking over me again, so let me, Shaner, I'm sorry. Gordon. Get my, Shaner. I will try again. Gordon. Are there any other parents you can recall who you have contacted, other than the names you've given me? Shaner. I've contacted so many of them, I don't know the names off the top of my head. Gordon. Do you keep records of that? Shaner. Yeah, I think I do keep records, when I talk, of those conversations. Gordon. What do you keep records of in that regard? Shaner. Just a copy of it, of when I spoke to someone, whether I left a message, whether we connected, that sort of thing. Gordon. So how do you keep a record of that? Shaner. I have a binder of it and it's got, like I'd say on a name, like, Ms. Gordon called, left her a message. That's it. Gordon. Do you keep that on a yearly basis or what? Shaner. I'm not sure Christina, how often she trashes it. We get a lot of phone calls. Gordon. You are in regular contact with the Rochester Chief of Police, is that correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. Yeah, I have a really good relationship with the Sheriff's Department and the police chief. Gordon. Hang on 1 second, please. And you have an officer on site at your building, is that correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Go ahead. Shaner. In the building that I'm in right now? Gordon. No, at the school. Shaner. Well, our liaison program is. They share schools, I guess I would say. So, for instance, we have a liaison at each high school and then ones that travel between the elementary and the middle schools. Gordon. Are these police officers? Shaner. Some of them are sheriff's deputies and some of them are police officers. Gordon. Do you discuss your concerns about danger and safety with them? Shaner. I do, from time to time. Gordon. Have you discussed parents with them, with the liaisons? Shaner. Ones that I'm concerned about. Gordon. And who have you raised with them that you are concerned about? Shaner. Mr. Redacted. Gordon. Who else? Shaner. I'm not sure that I've had any other conversation besides Mr. Redacted. I'm trying to think. Gordon. What are Lori Grain's duties? Shaner. Again, she's the executive director of strategic communications. Her duties include partially overseeing the Rochester Community Page Foundation, include communications for the school district, website management, social media management. She has quite an exhaustive list of things that she takes care of. She recently helped me facilitate the legacy committee that we put together for talking about what we want to do with this building. Gordon. Okay, what is her role with the foundation? Shaner. She assists the foundation director from time to time. Gordon. What does the foundation do? Shaner. They support kids. They support with scholarships and grants to teachers and things like that. It's a community member that's the president of it. It's an attorney by the name of Bob Justin. Gordon. Do you communicate with the mayor's office periodically, in Rochester Hills? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And have you raised issues you've had with parents with the mayor? Shaner. No, not that I recall. I haven't talked to him very much lately. He's been busy. Gordon. Well, I didn't ask you about lately, sir. I'm really not talking about lately. Shaner. Yeah, and we talk, invariably, from time to time. Gordon. I have an email that he forwarded you, it looks like. Shaner. Gordon. That was from Redacted in 2021. Do you recall that? Shaner. No, I don't. Gordon. And you sent him back a second cease and desist false allegations and insinuations letter that you had sent out to Redacted? Shaner. I don't recall that, but it sounds like it. Gordon. Sounds like what? Shaner. That he got the letter. Gordon. So is there a second cease and desist you sent out to Mr. Redacted? Shaner. I'm not sure. Whatever we sent to him, you have, I think. Gordon. So you were communicating with the mayor about Redacted and sent him the cease and desist. Shaner. I think the mayor. Gordon. Go ahead. Shaner. I think the mayor communicated with me because of all the emails the mayor had been getting. Gordon. Well, I see an email here from Redacted discussing the fact that he has concerns about COVID and the district and sent that to the mayor, who then sent it on to you. Is it inappropriate for him to send that to the mayor? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't know that I indicated it was inappropriate. Again, I don't remember doing that. There's literally hundreds of emails from Mr. Redacted. Gordon. And you have been criticized for calling Mr. Redacted an asshole at a board meeting, correct? Shaner. No, never did that. That's not true. Gordon. Well, you got an email from Redacted, remember that, 2021? Dr. Shaner, I expect you have a tough job, especially in these times. I wanted to let you know I heard you call Redacted an asshole. Shaner. I didn't call him an asshole. Gordon. Hang on a second, sir. You stated, Shaner, yeah. Gordon. To Kristen Bull, he's an asshole, as soon as Redacted was done speaking for his agenda spot. That is behavior unbecoming of district leadership and a violation of your own code of conduct. I believe your HR was sitting next to you. The parents, students next to me and other parents also heard you. Do you remember getting this email from Redacted? Shaner. Yep. Gordon. Did you respond to her? Shaner. I don't remember, but I didn't call anybody an asshole. I would never do that. Gordon. Well, sir, wouldn't you want to set the record? Well, why would Redacted take her time to make up a detailed letter, not only that you called him an asshole and she heard it, but there were other parents and students nearby who also heard it. Are you, Shaner, I can tell you how, Gordon, hang on. Hang on. Are you really, Shaner? I'm sorry. Gordon. Are you really suggesting that Redacted took her time to sit down and write this, and she's just a liar? Is that your position here today? Shaner. Yes. Gilliam. Object to form. Object to foundation. Shaner. Yes, and I'll tell you why, Ms. Gordon, because Gordon, go ahead. Shaner. I'm critical enough of myself to go back and look at the tape. And I didn't do that. Gordon. Well, sir, undoubtedly you didn't say it loud enough to be on the tape. Shaner. I didn't do it, period. Gordon. So she's just a liar when she says she literally heard it, Shaner. Gordon, herself? Shaner. I'm not calling anybody anything. Gordon. You just did, sir. Shaner. I'm not, Gordon, you just did. Shaner. Well, I didn't do that. Gordon. Do you have a personal code of conduct or your own code of conduct in the district? Shaner. I have an oath of office. Gordon. No, I'm not talking about an oath of office. She references your calling Redacted an asshole as being a violation of your own code of conduct. Is there a code of conduct for the board or for the administration? Shaner. Yeah, the whole district operates under a respect code. Gordon. Was that something that was there when you got there or something you implemented? Shaner. It's something that was there when I got here, and we improved upon it. Gordon. And what? You what? Shaner. We changed it a little bit. We changed the branding of the school district when I got here. We used call it the Grand Trunk R, the Grand Trunk Railroad, alphabet switching. Court reporter. I didn't understand what you just said. Shaner. I'm sorry. Suffice it to say that we changed some of our branding and the way it looked, including our respect code. We updated it. Redacted's husband just died, and he's one of our coaches, yeah. Gilliam. Ms. Gordon, can we take a 5-minute break? I'd like to use the restroom if that's all right. Gordon. Sure. Court reporter. Off the record at 2:37 p.m. Back on the record at 2:48 p.m. Gordon. Our lawsuit was filed, Dr. Shaner, on May 3rd. On May 4th, I have an email from Kristen Bull, CC'd to you and to Lori Grain, confidential. If it's easy to find, please pull for me the posts Elena D. wrote in the fall encouraging students to send their videos. I know she previously posted it with a different name. If there is any way to know when that name changed, I would appreciate it. If there is any way to get this for a meeting I have at 8:30, I would appreciate it so much. What is that referring to, Dr. Shaner? Shaner. I don't know. Gordon. Well, you are CC'd on it, sir. Shaner. Yeah, I see that. Gordon. Was there a meeting on the 4th, May 4th? Shaner. Not that I'm aware of. Gordon. So now we have the board president asking Lori Grain, a direct report or indirect report of yours, to pull all the posts Elena Dinverno wrote in the fall. So obviously you knew as of this time, if not before, I assume, that your office was keeping all posts, negative posts, by all parents, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I'm aware of our office, again, keeping records, as you described to me, regarding social media. Gordon. Yeah, and it looks like you were tracking every single thing my client posted, because right away Lori Grain writes back, Hi, Kristen. Elena Dinverno uses the name Louise, Elena Louise, on social media. She identifies herself in the attached posting from January 10, 2021. Also attached is a screenshot of Ms. Dinverno asking for parents to send videos of their child in distress, and then she attaches the video of Ms. Dinverno addressing the board. So you have a whole operation over there that's just tracking parents that have something critical to say, and then you have records you keep, too, right? Gilliam. Object to form, asked and answered. Go ahead. Shaner. I wouldn't describe it as an operation. Gordon. But other than that, you agree with what I've said? Shaner. I would say, Gilliam, object to form. Shaner. That we again sorry. Gordon. What's that? Court reporter. I didn't hear that. Gordon. So, obviously, your office was able to quickly pull out posts made by Elena Dinverno from the fall of 2020 and May of 2021. You had that ability, correct? Shaner. That sounds like Lori did. Gordon. Do you remember getting an email in 2020? The name has been redacted by the defendants, you defendants 3025? It's dated January 31, 20. It's to you, subject, Parent Advocates, a Rochester Community Schools page. Good morning. Admin of the Parent Advocates of Rochester Community Schools Facebook forum would like to take this opportunity to collectively and respectfully remind you that we are a closed group. As such, it's crucial that we protect the privacy of our members. We have several rules in place that are designed to do just that, including one that states, what is said on this page stays on this page. We sincerely invite you to openly participate in any discussion as an individual on the forum, and we are committed to ensuring that even too heated conversations remain respectful, but sharing anything that is said on the page with non-members is a clear violation of our rules. And then it goes on, I'm reading not the whole thing. Our position is that it is not appropriate to obtain members' phone numbers and call them to discuss what is on this page unless both parties agree, and so on. You received this, Dr. Shaner, because this group realized that you or your office was not following this group's rules and were on their page even though they were a closed group, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I'm not aware of that. Gordon. Well, you got it, sir. You received the, Gilliam. What was the, Gordon, email? Gilliam. Ms. Gordon, what was the date of that again? I'm sorry. Gordon. January 31, 2020. Gilliam. Thank you. Gordon. You received this, Dr. Shaner. You were, Shaner. Okay. Gordon. Being told by the admin of this group, Parent Advocates of Rochester Community Schools page, that this is a closed page, and you never let these people know that you or your office were tracking things that were posted, correct? Even though you got this letter specifically asking you to refrain from doing that? Shaner. I don't know when they threw us off their page. Gordon. Were you thrown off their page? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. How do you know that? Shaner. Because we did. We were thrown off. Gordon. How do you know that? One Shaner. Because we couldn't monitor it anymore. Gordon. And who told you that? Shaner. I don't remember. Probably Lori. Parents from that page send us stuff that's on it all the time. Gordon. Well, that's not what we're talking about here, is it? We're talking about you getting thrown off the page because it was a closed group, correct? Gilliam. Object to form. Shaner. I don't know why they threw us off. Gordon. I just have a couple more questions, and I may have covered this previously. You talked to Elena Dinverno on December 15, is that correct, about this whole issue with Kristen Bull and Blake's? Shaner. I don't recall talking to her. Gordon. You're not denying it, is that correct? Shaner. No. Gordon. What is your current contract that you're working under? Shaner. In terms of length of it? Gordon. Yeah. Shaner. I have a 5-year contract. Gordon. But I don't know when it began. Shaner. It's a rolling contract. Every June it rolls. Gordon. So you have a 5-year contract that began in June of 2021? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. And does the board vote on your contract every year in or around June? Shaner. No. Gordon. So it automatically renews? Shaner. It does. Gordon. For an additional 5 years? Shaner. Unless they stop the rolling part of it. They have the option to stop it. Gordon. Is your performance reviewed by the board? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. How often does that occur? Shaner. Every year. Gordon. And what's the format of the review? Shaner. It's a state-approved, it's heavily regulated. It's got to be a process the board is trained on, and they go through it together. Gordon. Did you finish what you were going to say? Shaner. Yeah, I thought you were asking me what the process was they followed. They have a, Gordon. Yeah, what is the process? Is there a, Shaner? They have a document they follow and a process, and they are trained on using it, and they get together, and their evaluation of me is by consensus. Gordon. And is it a written review? Shaner. Yes, it's a public document. Gordon. Have you received critical feedback at any time? Shaner. I get feedback all the time. Gordon. On this particular annual review is what I'm talking about, from the board. Shaner. I have gotten critical feedback in the past. Gordon. And this is a public document, you said? Shaner. Gordon. That's a yes? Shaner. Yes, yes. Sorry. Gordon. So this is FOIA able, as far as you know? Shaner. Oh, sure. I'm sure it is. It's done in public. They read it in public. They read portions of it in a board meeting. Gordon. Well, portions of it. Is the whole thing available? Shaner. Oh, yeah, it's available. Gordon. Okay, that's all the questions I have for you. Gilliam. Dr. Shaner, just a couple of follow-ups. Examination by Gilliam. Gilliam. Regarding Mr. Redacted, what was your concern in regard to these Facebook posts that were shared with you by, court reporter? I cannot hear you, Mr. Gilliam. Gordon. John, I can't hear you, either. Gilliam. Okay, well, my voice sounds muffled generally. I think I was continuing with, shared by a number of members of the community? Shaner. Yes. Gordon. Dr. Shaner, did you get that question? Shaner. I'm sorry, I got bits and pieces of it, John. I apologize. Gordon. No, no worries. What were their concerns, or what was your concern regarding the Facebook post that was shared with you by a number of members of the community regarding Mr. Redacted? Shaner. I was concerned about the potential for violence. Gordon. What was it that caused a concern about the post? Shaner. Well, as my experience as a police officer, first of all, our first duty is to preserve the peace, not instigate, and I was concerned that there was potential for violence. Gilliam. Okay, no further questions. Thank you. Gordon. Okay, thanks all. Court reporter. The Zoom video conference deposition was concluded at 2:59 p.m. Signature of the witness was not requested by counsel for the respective parties hereto.